For this reason, circumstances become irrelevant too. Not that you can't enjoy them or be entertained by them, but they are no longer what you base your being on. Once you become good in shifting viewpoints and their accompanying body sense, all other technique and methods become somewhat superfluous. The techniques are the middleman, but if you can go directly for the intended identity or feeling as reality, which is what everyone ultimately wants, you don't really need any methods. Strictly speaking, you don't even have to look for limiting or countering beliefs or subconscious patterns anymore, as is taught in other RC systems. Why? Because you enter a parallel reality in which you never had these beliefs and patterns. In the first step of the pure, the stillness of being, it can sometimes seem as if more than one parallel world or option is being offered to you. To some you will gently say, no thanks, and one of them you choose and enter as in looking from the eyes of complete and thorough fulfillment of the desire. If you find it difficult or challenging to change a belief you have been harboring an entire lifetime, just think of how much more difficult it is to be walking around with contradictory beliefs and desires all day. It's the self-contradiction which really makes life difficult, not the identity alignment. If you think merging with your true joy is risky, then I ask, what is it to not follow your joy, not do what your heart desires, not align with your inner peace? Is that supposed to be non-risky? Not following your true path is the most risky thing you can do, because that's where all the problems come from in the first place. Of course, following your joy creates rapid change, but never to your detriment, always to your benefit. Identifying with a preferred self version actually only takes a few minutes of closing the eyes, falling in love with the new reality, and remaining there effortlessly. Millions of contrary paths pass and issues disappear the moment you shift awareness, shift channels. Well, they don't really disappear, but they're no longer relevant to who you are. Nevertheless, for some this joy may be too much too fast, and they will decide to undertake the shift step by step and piece by piece, which is fine as well. In any case, once you shift a core belief about who you are, something happens. It is never ever the case that nothing happens after such a shift. Either the desired reality or something better appears inwardly, and thus soon outwardly, which is infinity's task, where you are put to the already mentioned test. This is not a test infinity is giving you, but one you're giving yourself by holding on to beliefs that don't match your newly chosen world. So whether the reality appears or a test situation appears, both indicate successful use of the pure technique. The test situation always involves being able to choose or decide between an old and a new reality. No test would appear if you were identified wholeheartedly, but if they do appear, it is not a bad thing, as it allows you to deepen your resolve on what it is you really want. When a test or choice situation appears, even if somewhat dramatic, give your loyalty to the newly chosen reality. Observing and being. All of RC, or even life, can be summarized in two states of awareness. Observing, looking at, witnessing dissociation. Or being, looking as identification, association. As observer or witness, you look at something in silence and without reaction or interaction and are not identified. You are pure awareness floating above things. You are the sky observing the clouds. Self is not involved in a reality, but separate. When you are identified, you take on a viewpoint, feel a reality, enter a belief, become one with what you are observing. You lose yourself in something to an extent that there is no more difference between I and the object of desire or resistance. You no longer observe it, you are it. This type of unconditional devotion and embodiment transforms a mere thought form into a belief that has a powerful effect on reality without us having to further enforce it. First you watched a movie, then you became an actor in the movie. The words attention and intention reveal the secret of reality creation, the secret of shifting from observer to experiencer or from experiencer to observer. When you put your attention on something, you are observing it, which is the obvious prerequisite for identifying with it. When you go I into the reality, it becomes an I intention or a belief, or even more appropriately, you believe it, and as such interacts with reality. Attention is the preliminary step and in and of itself already touches the vibratory frequency you're going for. Then you intensify attention by going inside it. Seeing something is a very soft form of reality creation. Also, feeling something makes it more intense. But actually being something is the most powerful form of magic. And you then are that for the fun of it, not as a strategy to make something happen out there. Strictly speaking, there is no out there. It all happens in here, not within the body or brain, but within consciousness. Nothing significant ever happens out there. You can have anything you want as long as you already have it. Vice versa, observing something without reacting to it de-identifies you from a reality. You may try the following out as a mediation. Choose a reality you have repeatedly been experiencing. Let the event well up in your mind's eye and emotion, together with the corresponding observer or experiencer. Now observe in silence until you have no more reactions to it. This means you give up your analysis, labels, judgments, and opinions on it until there's really no more concept on it. That is successful de-identification. Of course, if you can identify with what you want, you don't need this meditation. But if you have difficulty entering a new being, then de-identify with the old one first. Some students of RC have a difficulty in no longer discerning between out there and in here, or between imagination and reality. If that is the case, and you prefer to hang on to those separating concepts, you might want to see it all this way. The seed of a reality already contains the whole reality. If you plant a seed in the garden, it already contains all the information it needs to become a plant. All you have to do is plant it and leave it alone, and it will become what it naturally is, given that soil, sun, and water are naturally in place. If not, you might have to add light or water, but this is not a really big deal. The seed knows how to become what it is. When applying pure, you're planting a seed that will grow by itself. Your work is done. Problems and delays only arise when you dig out the seed to see if it has grown, or start pulling on the first signs of the still small and vulnerable plant in order to speed up its growth or make it bigger. Other problems arise when you start planting other seeds right next to the original seed. Two seeds will be competing to grow and perhaps neutralize each other. This is why it may be advisable not to plant too many seeds at once. 2 or 3 will do, and not to plant seeds that are, in your mind, contradictory. I want to have a monogamous relationship, and I want a polygamous would be somewhat contradictory. Simply plant the seed and let infinity take care of the rest. Another helpful analogy is that of pregnancy. By an act of high energy, sex, a child was conceived which is now in the mother's womb. She is pregnant. You would not say the child is not real just because it isn't yet physically manifest, just because it isn't born yet. Once you have claimed it inwardly, you know that it is real. Wouldn't it seem unnatural to you to try to build the plant or the child yourself? Can you imagine how ugly the plant would look if you taped together parts so that you get something that looks like a plant? Unfortunately, this is what many people think reality creation is all about. And because it feels so very stupid, they soon give up the subject and declare reality creation doesn't work. Instead, trust the universal efficiency of infinity. Quit trying to do nature's job. Simply feel the relief of entering the viewpoint of self for which it is already manifest, the imaginary scenario of already happened. Don't judge the day by what you reap, but by what you sow. The body sense. One could also describe it this way. Body sense creates reality. When identifying with a reality, there is an accompanying body feeling to it. The body never lies. It shows you exactly what you are identifying with. It predicts what reality is coming your way. For any reality you wish to experience, there is a corresponding body sense. For wealth and financial abundance, there is a certain body sense. For being in a romantic relationship, there is a corresponding body feeling. Even for things such as being the owner of a car, there is a corresponding body sense. The body is the gate between subtle energy and physical expression. Having a body sense of something goes way beyond the new age concept of visualization as some separate, lone mental event. Reality creation is a holistic and integral event in which the whole body is involved. So if you want to be the boss of a multi-million-dollar corporation, which body feeling do you have then? If you had that body feeling, you wouldn't be thinking much about becoming that boss anymore. You would replace wanting, needing, and striving for being. You would take it for granted as easily as you would take breathing for granted. Beginning at the end. Creational magic requires that you begin at the end and stay there. You bring future to today. You make the goal the starting point. You don't leave a back door open and don't concern yourself with the how, when, where of manifestation, but rest in loyalty and solidarity with the chosen self version. When you begin at the end, linear time is irrelevant. In this way, we can enjoy the identity today and rest in relief in gratitude. This does take some persistence. Persistence means to stay loyal and true to what you have chosen rather than swaying back and forth between contradictory beliefs and desires. Persistence absolutely does not mean discipline, stamina, or effort, but making a decision from deep within and remaining there. If you misuse reality creation or pure technique to make something happen, you are presupposing that it hasn't happened yet. Visualization, affirmation, etc. are not used to make something happen out there, but to experience it happening right now. Using it as a means to some end presupposes that we have to make something appear, which presupposes that we believe it is not there yet. The word already is therefore one of the most important words in RC. If you want resources, notice, appreciate, and use the resources you already have. If you want spiritual adventure, notice the spiritual adventure and knowledge about it you already have. And if you want to experience a reality, feel it is already done, already created, already manifest. Trying to make something come up through an act of will is in complete contradiction to magical RC because it is based on the belief that it is lacking. This is the principle most often repeated in this book because it is so important and because so many teachings and books fail to point it out. You let it already exist in consciousness to the extent that factual manifestation becomes unimportant. That is true belief. Contrary to most New Age teachings, RC does not utilize affirmations, at least not in the traditional sense. Affirmations are phrases people use in order to manifest something. So they might be repeating, I am rich 100 times a day in front of the mirror. But what is someone really believing who is doing that? He believes in the opposite, of course. And this is why affirmations rarely work. When they do work, it's often not because of the affirmation technique itself, but because of the person's belief that something magical will happen because of it. This is why most affirmation techniques lose horsepower after a while. Because the person doesn't notice that the energy is not coming from the technique, but from himself. In RC, we especially don't use affirmations that refer to the future, as in I want, I intend, or my goal is. Imagine a future self for which the goal is already true. Would he be using affirmations in order to make it come true? Not hardly. Discern between RC and wishful thinking. We will be discussing some quasi-affirmation techniques later on, but these will have very different purposes and effects. Because your creation has already happened, it is accompanied by good feelings, and you leave it alone. You cannot be enjoying and waiting for it at the same time. This is why New Age teachings that teach, expect manifestation are no longer necessary or even beneficial when using pure. When you're really expecting something, you're not really thinking about it, right? When you're deeply expecting something, you're no longer consciously expecting it. You take it for granted, and that is why it is granted to you. An example. You're not in a state in which you expect the next breathe to come. Wouldn't that be silly? If you be spending your time expecting the next breathe, something is wrong. The ease, naturalness, and gracefulness with which you simply take the next breathe for granted is the ease with which you claim your new reality. You don't work yourself into some frenzied expectation about it. You've identified with the reality of I breathe, and it's become a normal part of you. You no longer look at it directly, at least not much. You no longer look for it. Manifestation occurs while we weren't looking, while we were busy with other things. Laugh about your effortful, neurotic attempts to use RC, thinking you have to create something that is already there and easy as breathing. You cannot be something and expect it at the same time. You cannot look directly at it or look for it and be it effortlessly at the same time. Put self in the center rather than reality. This will not make you selfish, on the contrary. It will take you to a place in which the generosity of life flows from you and teach you the paradox of being and having like a mysterious piece of music. The world belongs to you when you stop chasing it. OceanoFPDF.com. 6 timelines and timelessness. Everything you want to experience is accessible here and now, currently, this moment. The present can be your greatest present. The present is the only reality that is of importance, the only reality in which RC practice occurs, the only time in which happiness can be let in. Everything is accessible immediately because it is already contained within the infinity that you are. What you call my life is an exciting game called Planet Earth, of which one of the main characteristics is linear time. This planetary reality is only one of many game options you have. But you've identified so strongly with the game that you have forgotten it is a game. And this amnesia is part of the game. In fact, the game wouldn't be much fun if you were constantly aware that it's only a game. Just like you wouldn't enjoy a movie while constantly thinking it's only a movie, it's only illusion. No, you identify with the movie, you allow it to touch you. Maybe you complain about the difficulties, hurdles, and opponents on a game board. But honestly, would you really enjoy a game if you could reach the game's goal without any barriers or challenges? If you've played soccer before, would you enjoy playing in an empty stadium without an own team, without an opposing team, so that you could shoot the ball into the goal just like that? I really don't think so. Look at what kind of songs, movies, and stories fascinate humankind the most. Drama, tragedy, heartbreak, violence, disaster, followed by a happy end. This is representative of the type of adventure a soul longs for when incarnating into this dimension. So if you say, I want enlightenment, or I want to win the lottery, it's like you are misunderstanding the purpose of the game being played on this planet. Your soul, higher viewpoint of self, did not want to be where it already was all the time anyway. Soul wanted to experience. The concepts before, during, after are typical traits of linear reality which allow us to experience things in detail. This is part of the ingenious setup that allows us to forget we are infinite beings. Physical reality is creating by separating and compartmentalizing all that is so that it can be experienced and viewed step by step and bit by bit. First I'll do this, then that, and then when that happens I'll do this, and so on. On this level, the past is the source of the present, and both are the cause of the future. But in ultimate reality, you are already all-knowing, all-seeing, all-pervading, simultaneous, and multidimensional consciousness. And you are currently expressing yourself as if you were something less. So you go on gathering knowledge and experience and seem to become more than you were before. Viewed from infinity, this is actually pretty funny to watch. God is a comedy for an audience that is afraid to laugh. God created a rock too heavy to lift, but will lift it anyway. God split itself into an enormous amount of viewpoints, and you are one of those viewpoints of God. Everything is already within consciousness, and consciousness is infinity. There is no in and outside. These are linear expressions. The body is inside consciousness, not the other way around. People who talk about my soul, or inwardly or inner self, often seem to refer to something that is inside their body or inside their brain, or something that is somehow limited to the space in and around the body. But that is only because consciousness identified with the body as a vehicle of perception and expression within the time-space game. You are not in the universe. The universe, including everything you see around you, is within you. You are the cause, not the effect. Things don't happen to you, but through you. You are the creator, not the created. You already have access to everything that can be known or experienced, because you are all that. Growth and learning is a funny illusion. In order to understand anything that is being said here, the knowledge would have to have been within you to begin with. Otherwise, you couldn't imagine or conceive of it. If something weren't possible, weren't in your potential, you couldn't imagine it. You cannot imagine something that doesn't exist on some level of access. All the things you don't think, because they are not within your current reach. The easier you can think a thought, the closer this reality is to you, the more probable it can manifest in the physical. If you want to experience an expansion of awareness and quality of life, all you have to do is express more of what you already are. You will only experience the happiness and abundance that you allow yourself to be. Don't long to have more, long to be more. Within your physical parameters, you may start considering yourself not as some small, insignificant being, but as royal, shining, beautiful, and unlimited consciousness. And when you even start considering it, you start attracting different kinds of information and events into your field of experience that allow you to be more of who you really are. Not to become something you're not, but to show you more of your original energy. Your true colors start shining through. You can rip that mask of, "Oh, poor limited me," from your face. I see through it. The frequency you are vibrating is an incredibly dense and contracted vibration, which enables you to forget 99% of who you are in order to intensely focus the 1% you are currently showing. Loosen your presuppositions of who you are, and your frequency vibration increases, which creates a seeming improvement or getting better. But expanding self does not actually mean you have to get from here to there, as here and there both exist right now within you. There is no separation. Rather than looking for enlightenment, it is recommended that you be more of your authentic and unique self. Spirituality does not go away from physical reality, as many people assume. Physical is not separate from spiritual. This is a common misconception, yet another way to separate. You chose to be here, and going away or ascending is not really what the soul's path is all about. To teach this is to further induce the trance of separation. The game of life becomes irresistibly beautiful and has obvious benefits to the soul who understands the game rules. Where would you want to go anyway? The more experienced aspect of self, higher self, if you want to make that separation, does not see this planet as a prison or some dark conspiracy, but absolutely loves the game. It wants to forget all other realities to create the appearance of starting with a clean slate and then act like it is discovering and learning, and what's most important, experiencing surprise, a concept that has little meaning for the infinite self. The benefit of this existence is the joy of discovery and not knowing what's going to come next. Do you recall situations from your childhood in which you were absolutely thrilled that you didn't know what is behind the curtain? Isn't it a bit dull of this society to want to have everything planned and figured out beforehand for reasons of security, which is actually fear? If you say no to your joy for reasons of security, the only security you're going to get is the security of joylessness and boredom. Therefore, take part in the movie willingly. The more you love life as it is, the more it will love you as you are. Paradoxically, the more you love normal life, the more you will ascend spiritually. Wanting to get away from here, as many spiritual teachings propose, binds you to this reality even more, as all resistance binds you. If you look closely, any reality reveals its magic, even the so-called mundane, profane, and commonplace. But everything is infinity and as such a miracle, so there are really no commonplace things. By giving into the world in terms of love and interest, you also gain more power and influence over the game. Being disinterested or antagonistic toward the game will not teach you how to play it well. You can't control a dance partner you push away. Being antagonistic towards the world implies that it has power over you. Loving the world implies that you have power over it. If you want to experience something good, then fully dive into your current situation without a hint of resistance or wanting to get away from this terrible place. It is implied that you created this experience, and by giving into it, you fulfill the reason you created it. If this is something unpleasant, then that's the way out of the situation by going through it inwardly, by feeling it to the end, for then it ends. When you resist nothing, nothing resists you. You do not have to give anything up in order to become more of who you are. Some suspect that the new minus the old is the real you. But actually it's the old you plus the new you, which equals the full you. Everything is within you. There is no external. Refusing something you are already experiencing anyway means refusing yourself. This does not mean you have to go through every negatively labeled reality imaginable. But if you're already experiencing it, then dive into it and experience what you created for the very purpose of experiencing it. Experience it eagerly and willingly, and it will turn into what you prefer. What you put attention on you include into your vibratory field. What you try to remove from your vibratory field, you're also including. That's why it's impossible to get rid of something. The moment you say, I exclude this, you are including it. Stop fighting problems. Either dive into them or start loving what you prefer instead. It is not the aim of this chapter for you to give up the convention of time while everyone else has agreed upon it. This would unnecessarily single you out from your fellow humans. It is okay to make dates, count birthdays, wear watches, and agree to appointments. However, apart from what you discuss with others, you may stop letting time have you and start having time. And no matter what you express towards others, you may adopt a different view of time as something more flexible, malleable, reversible, and fluid than you thought it is. The ancient Romans put bands around people's wrists to indicate that they are slaves. Consider no longer being a slave of time. This mere awareness makes it easier for you to change states of being because you no longer believe that the past is the cause of your state. There is no future to worry about and no past to blame things on because both are caused in the now. You will gain a new sense of freshness, witness the infinite depth of the moment, and have an easier time bringing your desired manifestations into the now rather than projecting them into some future that will never come. Furthermore, you will learn the secret of changing things immediately and thoroughly, as if they had never existed. Certain memories repeat themselves in the mind because they were recorded at a time you were more present, awake, aware, and intense than you are currently. If there was an event that was charged emotionally, one that captured your attention or impressed you in some way, then you were quite present in that moment. These events keep repeating in the mind until you experience something even more interesting, more current, more up-to-date, or more important. Depending on your state, you will be remembering different kinds of things. Many problems solve themselves by something more interesting coming up. An extreme example. The tornado in front of your house will have you quickly dismiss and forget the love sickness you were immersed in previously. Here's a little secret. When you're truly present, really alive, there is no who am I or what are my goals. You can care less. The questioning and pondering world self only arises when you are not feeling well. Less postponing of happiness into the future is advisable. If you feel happy now, you don't care about past or future much. We don't really have to do much to come into the living present than release resistance or become interested in what's going on now. But if there were an exercise on becoming present, then it would involve simply doing one of your favorite activities. And while conducting one of your favorite activities, while being immersed, you quit waiting for a better future and simply do what's before you to do. When immersed in something, you forget time, space, and even your surroundings. Your efficiency increases. You behave as an integrated, whole being without fragmenting your reality into pieces in time. And in this way, you experience a substantial increase in life energy. Why is it that for many people, what happened before and what will happen after or later is always more important than what is happening now? Because they are not happy now and do not know that they can transfer their visions and highest feelings and pasts and futures into the now. So they escape the now into some past or future, which they unfortunately view as separate from the now in order for the joy not to become too intense. Some teachers who misunderstand the concept of here and now teach that attention only be focused on the current surroundings and that this behavior constitutes being here and now. But I wouldn't suggest that being in the living present is only about looking at the current surroundings. Daydreaming with the presupposition that this daydream is not real or not here and now causes pain. Daydreaming for the sake of enjoying yourself here and now is pure joy. It is my opinion that enjoying yourself in the present and loosening your definition of time would slow the aging process. Being present summons the vibratory power of all times into the now. If you want to see something spooky, notice how people create fragmented, linear time on a nearly constant basis in order to uphold the illusion. Their language reveals the underlying belief in time. Don't criticize it, just notice it. Notice how they regularly refer to a concept that doesn't exist. I have to wait until I don't have time for. Later I might, we used to. Our language is nearly compelling us to view time as linear. What are you waiting for? Waiting is a state of being. This state actually means that you want the future and do not want the present. You do not want reality. It implies that both are separate and that you have no immediate access to all that is. That's why you wait. When people are waiting, they do not notice how they could have their attention at millions of nicer things than what they currently have their attention on. The key to happiness is to stop denying the present, giving up the resistance, and putting attention on what is wanted right here and right now, no matter where you are. In daily life, once you notice you're in waiting mode, you're no longer in waiting mode, but very present once again. Some mystics believe that being present for only a few days would lead to the automatic manifestation of your highest aspirations because you're no longer contradicting who you are. Anytime you notice you are waiting, you may gently redirect your attention to your present surroundings, or to the body, or to what's going on in the mind, or to some pleasant thought. You were just in hypnosis. Now you are awake again. You don't have to keep thinking about that appointment later on in order to fulfill that appointment. Your attention could be anywhere. Why waste this precious moment with being impatient? A note on time management. Paradoxically, some people, not all, find it easier to be present if they have a good, written time management system in their life. Why? Isn't time management and its accompanying prioritization, order, and structuring contrary to the flow state of a single point in time? For some it's not. By handling linear time, in an orderly manner they defragment it and gain some power over it, rather than linear time, gaining power over them. This frees their attention that then can be used for the here and now. This is being said as not to use this information to condemn such concepts as time management in the light of what was said. Of course, if you are thoroughly in the flow, no time management is required because everything appears naturally at just the right timing. But for someone still struggling with the basics, putting some order into the chaos might not be a bad idea. Loosening the concept of linear time also frees the world self from the rigid belief in continuity of reality. It is the belief in continuity that makes certain realities seem solid, unchangeable, and inflexible. People who are trying to progress often talk about setbacks in which they feel they have worked a long time for something and not made as much progress as I thought, because they suddenly behave like someone they wanted to overcome and don't think they are allowed to behave that way anymore. After all they have learned, they suppress parts of themselves that belong to the old version of self. But actually, you are not following linear evolution. Sometimes you experience highs, and sometimes you experience lows. And you can access highs and lows anytime. No matter how much you have progressed, you can fall back into your worst version anytime. The good news is, though, as quick as you fall into something undesired, just as quick can you access your highest version again. At any point on the timeline, you can experience incredible lows or incredible highs. Even after applying the knowledge of this book, you can access a version of yourself that doesn't understand any of this and makes the same mistakes as it used to. And even before having this knowledge, you had the ability to access your highest states. Continuity is an illusion. Every passing moment is another chance to turn it all around. Reality doesn't have to be like it was a moment before, but can be something completely different across the board if you decide that it is. Beings from other realms lovingly and jokingly like to call us masters of limitation because we are so ever eager to identify with realities we don't want. In a sense, our ability to limit ourselves is considering an art form from discarnate viewpoints or viewpoints alien to this planet. It is considered an art form because our true nature is unlimited. On the other hand, being unable to focus or limit oneself would mean being unable to create anything. Reality creation implies limitation, a limitation to a specific focus. However, certain limitations that counter or creative power can only be upheld by a very certain series of concepts or core beliefs. One of these core beliefs is our trust in the authority of linear time. in which we become so deeply immersed we hardly notice it. Exaggerate your immersion in the concept of linear time, and you become a reactive idiot that has completely forgotten itself as cause of reality. One forgets one's observer mode or de-identified state of witness and one's ability to make decisions, and soon gets lost in a kind of half-trance or waking sleep. Being this fully immersed in a beautiful reality might be a good thing, but being immersed in something you don't really want is a good opportunity to return to awareness. An analogy: world self sees time as a river flowing from past to future. We sit in a small boat called the present and don't see much of what lies in front of us while being pretty sure that what lies behind us is done and over. From a viewpoint more congruent with infinite self, time is not a river, but a lake. Time is not a line, but a circle. The present is like a rock thrown into the middle of the lake. Waves that ripple out in both directions from this center represent past and future. Each ripple is an event. Looking down at the lake from a higher viewpoint, you see that time exists simultaneously and that each circular wave group represents another time stream of past, present, future, and especially that each one is caused in the now. Throw another rock and the formations and directions change. Not only parallel universe theory, but also this analogy imply that the complete timeline can be changed right now. Since we chose our beliefs, the rocks we throw into the lake, right now, we can not only change present and future, but also the past. This may not make sense to world self, who has been educated, forcefully conditioned, to forget the eternal now it knew as a child. Past and future are being created right now through your current focus. While most would agree that present and future are changeable, it might take some getting used to viewing the past as changeable. Some readers may even find the proposal outrageous. Yes, you can change the past. Not only your perception of the past. Mind you, you can change the past. Once you enter a parallel version of self, you might assume you have the same past, but you don't. You are on a parallel timeline, with not only a new future, but also a new past. Most of us understand that if we change our viewpoint today, we will start remembering other things from our past or place different emphasis and relevance on remembered events. But what is being suggested here goes even beyond mere change of perception or change of emphasis. There are many examples of someone changing the viewpoint, belief, or identity in the now, and then the past changing accordingly. But we hardly notice it due to our belief in an unchangeable and fixed past. Have one belief today, and you might be struggling with your parents. Change the belief today, and you might soon find out you've been adopted, and suddenly what you view as the past completely shifts. Shift back into your old identity or timeline, and you'll find out that you haven't been adopted after all, that information was just due to some computer glitch. Have one belief here and now, and you might remember how you were sexually abused as a child, something which you can blame what you are like today on. Change the belief, and you might find out that it wasn't abuse that was happening, or that it was just a dream. Change the belief once more, and you might find that it didn't happen at all. As difficult as it might be for some to grasp, especially with emotionally charged subjects such as sexual abuse, nothing is as it seems. On a basic level of RC, one might teach that the past is over, and in this way free attention from it. On an advanced level, one might teach that the past is not over, and that it is not even the past. You may either dismiss the concept of past as irrelevant or rewrite the past to your liking. Physics has shown again and again how linear time is not real. So why shouldn't this knowledge be applicable to your life? How you think the past was is only how you think the past was. How you think the present is only how you think the present is. How you think the future is only how you think the future is. From different orders of perspective, the entire scenario changes. It is with your current focus that you are creating the version of the past, which you unquestioningly believe is the past. Many people, when changing the present or themselves, assume that from this point forward, they have changed, when actually they have changed from this point forward and backward. Now is the place from which all realities stream. Remembering something from the past, you are creating it right now as evidence for who you are now. This is so important because belief in the past implies that the past is source when actually you are source. Cause lies not in the past, but in your momentary belief. Your past has nothing to do with what you decide to do or not do today. This knowledge is dangerous in that it removes the base of a whole civilization that has always made the past cause and the future effect, rather than consciousness cause and reality effect. I've had tough relationships in the past, which is why I don't want to give in to new ones. That's a typical example of the false assigning of cause. Past is cause thinking will perpetuate a limiting reality. Making the past responsible for something relieves you from self-determined thinking and acting. If there is anything you dislike about your past, you can recreate it. How? By using the pure technique on a past event. By changing the event you recall to something you prefer or remembering something different entirely. Be writing a script of a preferred past and believing in it. If you get a body sense of that memory, you have changed the past, which again will affect your present. By changing the past you, of course, at the same time change what happens today and tomorrow. By planting retro causes, you're speeding up change here and now. If the past happened differently, then the present would be different too, right? You can do this despite the mass consensus belief in objective time. It is the seriousness with which one demands, yes, but I experienced that and it cannot be changed, that shows the rigid resistance against one's ability to completely change facts. Some people would rather be right than change for the better. Some expect reality to change without them changing. But a new reality is always accompanied by recognizing apparent facts or reality as only a belief, releasing it, and exchanging the intention for something new. As you continue to ease your mental grip on linear time, some other side effects may occur. Things may happen at just the right time. Moments will pop up in which you can pre-sense to the future. Once you understand your emotions as a navigational early alert system, there won't be any bad surprises lying ahead anymore. Precognitive dreams, clairvoyance, and remote viewing become commonplace things rather than world of the strange events that have to be trained. Exercises. If you're accustomed to releasing general resistance, loosening fixed beliefs, or going into deep silence, then no exercise is really necessary to make something happen. Being present and loosening the time concept happen naturally. But some will want to consciously play with the idea of stretching and altering time, and for such occasions you may use the following exercise commands or invent your own. Sudden stare. Focus on something you would normally only view in passing with a sudden, abrupt head movement and gaze, staring at a specific spot you would normally not stare at. Some people will get a rush through the neck when doing this. This is the rush one feels when the hypnosis-like routine of everyday life is suddenly interrupted and one returns to present time. I walk by a vase I normally never really look at. Suddenly, I turn my head and stare at it. I am sitting at my desk. Suddenly, I turn around and stare at the door of my house. Reality breaking. Suddenly interrupt what you're doing and do something completely different or something totally out of the ordinary, something you have never done before, something nobody would normally do. No matter if you start jumping up and down on a leg, singing a hymn, taking your kitchen dishes for a ride with a car, or bathing in champagne. The sudden break of routine followed by something crazy signals the following message to self. Reality is not what it was up to now. Reality is what I decide it is. Past into present. Remember something nice from the past. Now, while warming that scene back up, notice how the feeling of it is occurring right now and is a resource right now. Past into future. Notice a situation you will have in a few days. Remember a time you had a similar situation and were successful at it. Transfer your knowing and that feeling to the current upcoming situation. Future into present one. Imagine something nice expected in the future. Notice you are feeling it now. It is happening now. Future into present too. Imagine a wise, more expanded, loving, and powerful version of yourself in the future. 10, 50, 100, 1,000, or more years. If you want to ask this version of you questions and let him or her answer you, or let this version of you provide guidance, or identify with this version of you right now. No need to wait 1,000 years. Present and a past. Recall yourself when you were younger. Gently place your attention on this younger version of yourself. Now act as the guiding, loving, and reassuring future self of this past version of you. By giving guidance or advice or appreciation to a past self, you automatically create that there is a future self giving guidance, advise, and appreciation to your present self. Grasp the logic of this. Changing the past. Apply the pure technique to remember something you would like to have happen in your past. Fully allow the feeling of that having happened. What was just a moment ago a fantasy. View it as your actual and factual past. Then let go of the new memory. Your present will start changing accordingly, but not because you're looking out for it or waiting for it, but because you trust your inner authority in what it is showing you. Expanded present time. Notice something that is moving, e.g. a car. Speculate about where it's coming from and where it might be going. Repeat this with various things until you feel an expansion of your sense of here and now. Here and now drill 1. Remember something unpleasant from a past. At the same time, notice something pleasant about the present. Stay aware of both simultaneously until the past event loses weight, charge, and relevance under the more intense impressions of the present moment, and you feel an obvious shift in mood. Here and now drill 2. Walk around. Notice how when you look at things, you often automatically associate them with other things you already know, connecting the dots from the past. Example, you see a house in Vancouver and you think they also have houses like this in Liverpool. Simply notice your inner linking of something present to something past. Also notice your tendency to think, I already know this. Then dismiss the association for a moment and look at the object as if you were seeing it for the very first time. Fresh, new, amazed, open, and without expectation. Repeat this until you feel a significant shift in mood or vibration. Here and now drill 3. Sit somewhere where you can observe a lot of people, e.g. a cafe. Spend a lot of time simply watching and observing people. Nothing less, nothing more. Do this until the following phenomena occurs. The certainty that you can learn anything about anyone simply by observation, reading vibration. A feeling of appreciation and humor. A feeling of deep relaxation beyond any deadlines or appointments. Here and now drill 4. Take a walk near where you live. But this time, walk in directions you've never walked before to parts of the place you've never seen or have never taken a closer look at before. Or walk where you have walked before, but see the place with new eyes and emphasis on different things. Notice how attention behaves at new places. Notice how new places or viewpoints naturally produce present beingness. Here and now drill 5. Completely give into one of the senses, hearing a piece of music, touching or caressing something, tasting something totally, smelling something completely, or seeing art totally. Here and now drill 6. Search out a person in whose presence you feel uncomfortable, self-conscious, shy, or generally unwell. Approach the person who supposedly sucks your energy and be in the presence of that person. Remove your attention from the story in your mind about that person to the energy field, the eyes, the breathing of that person. Dismiss all past associations you had and simply perceive the human. Remain this way in silence or conversation until any inhibition, worry, heaviness, or wanting to get away have ceased and you feel well, or at least okay, in that person's presence. Here and now drill 7. Observe a rose. Hold it in your hand. Touch it. Smell it. Identify with the rose. Be the rose. As the rose, observe yourself. Then close your eyes and observe a rose. Hold it. Touch it. Smell it. Eyes still closed, be the rose that is observing you. Acknowledge that what you perceive as rose are electric signals being interpreted by your brain. Without you, without interpreter, there is no out there and no rose. Without you, the rose has neither look nor smell, but is only an electrical impulse. The rose exists within you. Here and now drill 8. You can easily come into present time by shifting attention from the inner dialogue and mind stories to the body, feeling the body, breathing with the body, sitting or standing upright with the body. Here and now drill 9. Notice something, object, person, place, plant, thought, etc., and non-verbally say hello to it, acknowledging its existence. If you want, imagine it saying hello back to you. Repeat until you feel a new sense of here and nowness. Here and now drill 10. Put yourself to a place and time outside of your current surroundings. Examples: marketplace in Japan, internet cafe in Melbourne, court of law in Boston, boat in Greenland, etc. Become present and aware at this place. Be here and now, there, and then by looking at the surroundings and touching things or noticing temperature, landscape, and time of day. Repeat this with different things until you notice a significant shift in energy. oceanofpdf.com. 7. Viewpointing. There are some single techniques or practices which are worth more than thousands of words or book volumes because they deepen an experiential understanding of things that words can't sufficiently describe. The practice I've called viewpointing is one of them. It is not the only way to exercise shifting into parallel realities, but a very quick and efficient way. The side effects of viewpointing are new realizations, heightened awareness, heightened energy, heightened ability, heightened intelligence, and heightened well-being. I will offer a few variations of viewpointing here. Choose the one that suits you the most, or try out all of them. The technique of viewpointing. Look at any object without expectation, in a relaxed, receptive manner for a few seconds or more. Next, look as the object. You're no longer looking at the object, but as it. This means you identify with it, be it, get a real body sense or feeling of being it, and view your surroundings from this new viewpoint. From this new viewpoint, look at the next object. Then look as that object. From a new object, look at your surroundings and choose the next object to look at, and then merge with it and look as it. Continue this until you experience an obvious shift of energy, feeling, and consciousness to the better, until you can clearly discern between looking at and looking as, and have the impression that you can effortlessly and easily take on any viewpoint or identity. An example of viewpointing. I look at an apple for a few moments. I allow myself to become relaxed, my focus to become soft. Once I have a good impression of the apple, I project my consciousness into the apple, imagining I am the apple, looking as the apple of my surroundings. Once I get a body sense of being the apple, paradoxically felt in one's own body, I choose the next object. As the apple, you are the apple choosing an object to look at. As the apple one, choose a tree I see outside. I look at the tree as the apple, perhaps noticing the relation between the apple and the tree. Then I project my consciousness or attention into the tree, moving from attention to intention. I am the tree, looking at my surroundings, and so on. Much more can be said about the meaning and results of this technique, and especially how it serves to loosen your identification with the limited perspective of I am a body, and opens you to the limitless identification of I am consciousness. But I will mention no more so that you can have your own realizations and experiences. You cannot do too much of this exercise. You might say that you would prefer to identify with your desired realities rather than things like rocks, cars, and apples. But to this I respond, World Cell's desire is only to identify with a very limited amount of things it has been conditioned to view as desirable, while the soul wishes to identify with anything, everything, and everyone. In this exercise, you are practicing becoming one with all of physical reality. It is in this way that you gain more influence or rapport with physical reality itself. The least time you spend on it per session will be 15 minutes, but it may also be practiced for many hours, leading to deeper and deeper states of feeling and energy. You want to assume as many viewpoints as possible, thus flexing your ability to shift. If you can't even identify with a rock, I doubt you will be able to identify with wealth. Shifting viewpoints is equal to shifting resonant realities. As a side note, you might already have guessed, remaining in a viewpoint for a length of time would start attracting that reality. But that is the aim of the pure technique, not viewpointing. Here you don't remain in a viewpoint for more than 20 to 160 seconds. The important aspect of this practice is getting a body sense or feeling of being something, being able to discern what it feels like to be a tree or a human, and being able to discern the feeling between looking at and looking as something. Advanced viewpointing. This would be the same procedure as just described. Expect that imaginary objects and people or objects outside of your current surroundings are included in the practice. So you might be a tree that is looking at a building on the other side of the world. Then you're the building that is looking at a certain person walking by it. Then you're that person who notices some celebrity. Then you're the celebrity that notices the sun. Then you're the sun that notices the earth. And so on. Have fun with the extraordinary states of awareness you will have on this one, turning expectation and desire into memory. Take any desire or expectation you have about something and turn it into a memory. Think or fantasize about it as if it were a memory that has already happened, as if you were a future self remembering it. See how easily you can become convinced that this already happened. Notice the difference in vibratory feeling of expectation and memory. Expectation feels somewhat separate and even subtly stressful, while memory feels like relief. You may experiment with this as often as you want. It is a valid alternative to the pure technique, a quick route to identifying with something. Multi-viewpointing. Choose an object, physical or visualized. Now look at it from the front, and from the back, and from the sides, and from inside, from a distance, from close up. Look at the object from the viewpoint of a neutral person. Look at it from the viewpoint of a murderer, a child, an alien, a politician, a mother, a guru, a grocer, from the viewpoint of you when you were 15, when you were 8, and when you were 80. Look at it from the viewpoint of a person who likes the object and one who dislikes it. From the viewpoint of someone who thinks it's dangerous. From the viewpoint of someone who finds it boring, and so forth. Simply look at that same object from many different viewpoints and enjoy all of those viewpoints. With every new viewpoint, you will perceive the object differently and even perceive different things about the object you did not perceive before. Each viewpoint is not only a different perception, but a different reality. In the multi-viewpointing meditation, you are actually reality surfing. At the end of the exercise, try looking at it from all the different viewpoints simultaneously, without too much effort or concentration. Try to remain in this multi-viewpoint for a bit. This may sound difficult or even impossible, but you'll get the feel of this state immediately, even if you can't hold all viewpoints at the same time. This will produce extraordinary states of awareness, no matter what subject you're using it on. Multi-viewpointing is one of the most important meditations of this book because it trains your ability to shift reality. Here are some things you can practice multi-viewpointing with. An event from your life, pleasant and unpleasant. Any object, your home, the topic of money, another person, the mind, the body, life, the universe. All that is. Of course, the meditation requires a bit of time and focus. So what? A single session may teach you more intuitive and specific knowledge than hundreds of lifetimes, consumer goods, or books. Why? Always viewing something from the same viewpoint fixes you to always perceiving the same things. If you wish to expand your intelligence, wholeness, and the soul's fluidity, you need to be able to flexibly change viewpoints. You can only experience something you are. Shifting your vibratory correspondence to a number of things and topics, enjoying the good, the bad, etc., not only puts you in a position of feeling much more energy, but being much easier able to choose between your preferred viewpoints rather than being stuck to one single way of seeing things for the rest of your life. Every reality is upheld by some viewpoint observing it. No observing viewer, no reality. The last part of the exercise shifts your consciousness to a viewpoint beyond all viewpoints. By taking on many viewpoints simultaneously, you automatically identify with the you that was taking on all the viewpoints. Up to now, you perceive yourself as someone with one single viewpoint. In this meditation, you shift yourself to the one beyond all viewpoints. The inability, unwillingness to take on a certain viewpoint is a stuck viewpoint of the world self and not the viewpoint of Source, Soul, who is interested in any viewpoint. By forcing yourself not to take on certain viewpoints, you are blocking large parts of reality from being perceivable. Infinite consciousness can take on any viewpoint, the bum, the superhuman, the impersonal, the right-wing extremist, the left-wing extremist, the policeman, the god, the angel, the sportsman, the millionaire, a soul, can be anything and understand anything. Remaining in a viewpoint for a short time doesn't mean you are creating this reality. It would only start creating itself if you remain in one wholeheartedly. But by resisting certain viewpoints, you will create them to become a problem in your life. Use this meditation as a journey, an exploration, and don't go hiding yourself from the infinity of options and experiences. Multi-viewpointing emulates the game that the soul has been playing since ages. This simple meditation allows the world self to remember the game the infinite self has been and forever will be playing. In this sense, enlightenment is also merely a viewpoint. Everything you have ever experienced flows from viewpoint. Any belief anyone could have is a viewpoint, and one will experience according to one's viewpoints. And any experience is valid and beautiful. The game of the soul is to experience. Period. Why did the soul incarnate on planet Earth? To experience a particular kind of surprise that comes with not knowing everything. Forgetting source leads to surprise, which again leads to fun. It is fun to take on various viewpoints and then watch what surprisingly unfolds for these viewpoints. Being caught and fixed in viewpoints is quite tedious. Nobody is forcing you to remain in a viewpoint. Reteach yourself how easy it is to change them. And should you ever want to use this meditation for manifesting a reality, choose a viewpoint you love and stay fixed in that. This limits you, but also allows you to experience something you want to experience. Variation examples. Physical viewpoints on physical objects. Walk around an object, viewing it from different standpoints. Inner viewpoints on physical objects. Shift between observing an object from the filter or viewpoint of various opinions about the object. Physical viewpoints on inner objects. Remember some event and observe it from the distance, from close up, from above, from below, and so on. Inner viewpoints on inner objects. Remember some event and observe it from the viewpoint of various opinions about the event. A last note, viewpointing can be practiced in written form, verbally, physically, and mentally. It's up to you. You know why you're doing it and what it is all about. Practicing the art of shape-shifting into anything, being one with everything. OceanoFPDF.com. 8 Emotions and Reality. Happiness is the cause, not the effect. Well-being is not the goal, it is the starting point. This is yet another realization that could change everything in your life dramatically. It might be a concept you'd like to remind yourself every now and then. Your emotions are energy in motion. And since everything else in this universe is energy too, your emotions interact with the whole universe. Your emotions are the language of your soul. They are the body's translation of your energy state. They're the body's translation of what your soul is telling you. They are the body's translation of what you are believing and being. What emotional frequency you put out or radiate is what you get back as real-life experience. If there's something you want in life, check if that's what you are radiating. So for example, if you want more love, check if it is love of others and self that you are feeling. Everything you experience, your surroundings, the people you meet, the events that pop up, the places you go, the things that happen, are reflections of the emotional states you most often reside in. You will notice that when you shift your frequency, other things will start happening. By changing your vibratory state, your mood, your feeling, reality starts changing to reflect that feeling. If you want the out there to change before you feel better, that won't work. But feel better before it happens, and it will be much more likely to happen. In other words, you can make more money relaxing in a jacuzzi than in the rat race of the stock exchange. Everything you do is driven by emotions, driven by the desire to feel better or to avoid feeling bad. You believe if you will do this and that, you will feel better. But actually, it's not the thing that makes you feel better, only what you associate with experiencing it. It's okay and totally valid to have things you associate feeling better with, as long as you understand that the improved feeling does not come from a thing itself, but from your mere decision to feel better and linking or associating it to some activity or thing. From the viewpoint of a reality creation wizard or a parallel universe surfer, there is nothing more important than your state of being. Compared to it, all other things are irrelevant. Feeling good is not the end, but the means, not the aim, but the requirement to reality creation. If, for example, you say, If I work harder, I will make money, and then I can feel good. You're replacing two conditions before happiness, before having energy. You be dependent on work and money for having a good state. Being needy of money will never create the money you want, though. You have to feel what you would feel if you already had plenty of money before having it, in order for it to flow effortlessly. And the same principle applies to all other issues. Another example. Are you saying, I feel bad because I'm overweight? Well, this is putting the carriage before the horse. You're actually overweight because you're feeling bad. And another example. Are you using techniques of reality creation in order to feel better? Most people do. The amusing thing is that none of the techniques will work if you don't feel better in the first place. Emotion is the cause, reality the effect. That is why it is absolutely necessary to put well-being first. Another way to put it, a mirror won't smile before you smile. Demanding a mirror to smile before you smile is what you are doing when you demand life to be better before you feel better. The journey you need to take first is an emotional one, not an action journey. If you let circumstances dictate what you feel like, these circumstances won't change. Don't let other people, so-called authorities, bank account statements, or the weather dictate how you feel. Create your own feeling of well-being first, and all other good things will follow, almost automatically. When you're in the flow, things happen naturally, effortlessly, easily, and all of them to your benefit, reflecting the feeling you give off. Don't even leap to actions and decisions before you've found that sense of natural calm, well-being, or enthusiasm. Otherwise, any decision you make will be colored by lack, because it is from a state of lack that you take many of these actions. If you don't put feeling good in first place, you will forever be trying to change and control the circumstances instead of the source of the circumstances, your emotional energy. You will forever be taking actions as compensation to make up for creating bad circumstances with bad emotions. So the most basic principle is to begin to put well-being, a good state, feeling well, relaxed, relieved, comfortable, appreciative, enthusiastic, or excited on top priority. Before you do anything else, before you make decisions, before you commit to something, before you act. Compensation actions are things you do to make up for bad energy. And these actions cause more bad energy, believe it or not. Inspired actions are things you do that feel good, or when you act on opportunities that present themselves after you've given off good vibrations. The formula all suffering is based on. But there's more to this principle. When you follow your joy, your life's plan, the plan you designed before you came to this planet, unfolds naturally. Joy is your body's translation of your soul's energy, of what your soul would love to do. You can either trust that feeling or not. But if you do trust that feeling and do follow it, it will always ultimately end up with what's best for you, and it will always be understood why your emotion told you to follow that. Shortly put, if something feels good to you or right to you, it is good for you and will produce good results for you. If something feels bad to you, it is bad for you and will produce bad results for you. It's really as simple as that. Life is not any more complicated than that. And if something feels good and bad at the same time, if something feels ambivalent, it will produce good and bad results for you. You cannot expect that something bad will produce good results. Doing a job that you do not like because you want to earn money will never produce the money you want. Meeting someone although you don't want it today because you want this person to like you will never produce for that person to like you. The formula that most people use is, I have to do X in order to get W. X standing for something they don't like, and W standing for something they want. Example, I have to do this lousy job in order to make money, with which I can then enjoy my life. If you break this formula down, you get X equals W, meaning bad equals good. Does that make sense? No. Does it work? No. And yet, much of people's actions are still based on this formula that just does not work. Think about how this applies to your life. Write about it. Examine it. Find out in which areas you're using this formula. And realize, doing, thinking, saying something that feels good will lead to a result that is good and nothing else. And what feels right to you does not have to feel right for anyone else. But you know best what is good for you, no matter what others say. You are not on this planet to fix what's broken. You are here to experience and share joy. If you lower your own state in order to help someone else, you are not really helping. Because if you have no energy, you have nothing to give anyway. This whole universe is based on resonate attraction, meaning that like attracts like. That means you'd have to become like the thing that you desire in your life. Primarily, this means to feel like it, to feel as if you have it. It takes one to know one. You can only experience and perceive and know what you are the vibratory energy of. If you want something to manifest in your life, you'll have to say and feel, I love it, and it loves me. That's a thought or phrase you can cultivate. Emotions are an immaculate navigational system. Your emotions are barometers, indicators, navigational systems that tell you which way your day and your life are going. Knowing this, you get a very fresh, new perspective on so-called negative emotions. Negative emotions are like your servants, your friends, your navigational indicators, warning you to change your course before something unwanted manifests as reality. They do not indicate that something unwanted has already happened, but that something unwanted will definitely occur if you do not change your course. Thank goodness negative emotions exist, otherwise you would know that you're heading for something very undesirable. It is therefore absolutely paramount that you learn to trust your feelings and learn to appreciate the negative or bad feelings as helpers and friends. Learning to read them, understand them, and react appropriately. Would you trash your navigational system in the car when it tells you're going the wrong way? Of course not. You'd be grateful that you were forewarned and change your course. What do I mean by changing course? Having a negative emotion means that one of two things are not appropriate for you, not appropriately aligned with your life's purpose. 1. A thought, belief, or judgment. 2. An action, plan, person, or surrounding. That leaves us with one of only two questions to ask when we're feeling bad. 1. What am I thinking or believing in order to feel this way? 2. What am I doing in order to feel this way? And this leaves us with one of two solutions to the unpleasant emotion. 1. Either change your thought/belief. 2. Or change your action or surroundings. Either way will work. Allow negative emotions to be an indicator, pointing at thought patterns, beliefs, behaviors, or actions that are inappropriate for you or what you say you want in life. Let's say you're working on a project that once felt good to you, but no longer feels right. According to what we just said, you only have two options: to change or abandon the project, or to change your thinking about the project. Both options are completely valid, and both will work to put you back into emotional alignment with your true self. You can change the way you view, think about, believe about, label the project, or you can change the parts of the project that don't feel good, or you can abandon the project altogether. Anything that will cause relief is spiritually and physically healthy. You will not and should not get rid of negative emotions per se. They are the perfect, immaculate navigational tools that allow you to stay in sync with your soul's originally intended path. Getting rid of negative feelings altogether, you would no longer be able to discern what your soul has intended for you and what not. You would no longer be able to choose between what's really you and what's not. Your life would no longer make sense. Suppressing emotions or wanting to get rid of them is attempting to destroy your beautiful navigational system. You will not only destroy that guiding light, but also your body and mind. You see, emotion is simply energy. Energy flowing through your body. Energy is neutral. When this energy flows through a negative belief or action filter, through a black filter, then you perceive this energy as fear or sadness or anger or other emotions you term negative. When this same energy flows through a positive belief or action filter, you feel this very same energy as happiness or excitement or relief or peace or ease or enthusiasm or whatever other emotion you term positive. And it is in this sense that fear and joy are the very same thing, the very same energy flowing through different filters. It is therefore not the energy you should try to get rid of. Suppressing the energy is suppressing your own true life force. Suppression and resistance will make you tired and exhausted. What you want to find out is what the filter is that the energy is running through. You want that feeling to be an indicator to lead the way to the thought or action that is inappropriate. If you suppress the feeling, not only will you suppress energy and thus joy, you will also not find out what the thought is that is producing it. The following emotions are indicators that you are following your soul's truest path. The emotion you call excitement, elation, euphoria, or enthusiasm. The emotions you call appreciation, love, and compassion. The emotions you call interest, attentiveness, awakeness, awareness, fascination, admiration. The emotions and states you call relaxation, relief, peace, contentment, calm. There are many different ways to use the knowledge you're given here. What follows are a few ways and exercises, but they are by no means the only ways to apply this. As you begin to trust your feelings, use your emotions, change your state, contemplate these things, you will come up with your own ways and ideas. The exercises of this book are optional, meaning that you are not expected to do or repeat or master all of them. You are given more exercises than you will do so that you can choose the ones you enjoy or the ones that fit to your current situation. More important than what exercise you practice is the act of practicing itself. Practicing in and of itself is a form of conscious behavior and is part of the life of a spiritually mature being. Time out. The most natural and easy way to improve your emotional state is to call out a timeout. This would mean to ease off, to retreat, to take a break, to relax, to become silent, to calm down, to allow stillness, to give up resistance toward what is. There are many different ways one can take a timeout, but don't ask me how to do it because it's not about doing anything. It's about stopping to do anything, stopping the world, stopping the rat race, stopping to be driven by cravings and resistances, stopping to be a puppet of your desires, and first regaining a sense of control, self-determination, and peace. In this sense, the exercise of time out is actually an anti-exercise. Taking a time out means to get out of the movie reel for a moment or two, step back and gain perspective. It can mean meditation, but doesn't have to. Some use meditation as yet another tool to do something productive, which perpetuates the rat race. Time out means to quit the habitual flow of things and come to yourself. What is left when everything is removed? Your true self. Time out can also mean to go to some place you will be safe and undisturbed. It can mean to close your eyes and simply breathe for a few minutes, a few hours, a few days, or even a few weeks, depending on the degree of exhaustion you have let life cause you and the degree of relaxation you need to feel yourself again, to reorient yourself. Becoming stillness is the basic fundamental from which the other things will flow and work. Operating on the tools of this book or on magic from a state of being driven or tense will absolutely not work. It is not the tools that work, but the craftsman who uses them. Even needing the tools in order to feel better is a clear indicator that you have strayed far away from who you really are. When you relax into your most natural self, well-being arises and you are no longer needy of anything. Taking your time out, be it for 1 minute, a day, a week, or any other time span, is an act of self-determined change of pace. This is especially vital when things are not going the way you wanted them to go, when you're feeling down, exhausted, sad, fearful, or angry. These are the best moments, the best opportunities to examine yourself, your life. Write down limiting beliefs, replace them with positive ones, meditate, gain an overview. Relaxation and wellness are a prerequisite for changing your vibration to any subject. Non-doing is also the opposite pole to doing and will intensify your ability to do. Having come to peace, you will soon find yourself being inspired to do, rather than action being some kind of frenzied reaction to worry. Without timeouts, there's not much of a chance you will do pure technique either. You won't be able to relax and concentrate on it. If you wish to work a lot or have more energy, you can only do that if you're sufficiently regenerated, rejuvenated. If you fail to take time outs because you feel under time pressure, are afraid of the consequences, or feel there are too many unfinished things, then you've long passed the phase where it is easy to change your vibe. You are then no longer the master of your destiny, but some reaction robot giving in to the imagined pressure of the world. You are fully engulfed in compensatory action and no longer living your true self. Your true self, your eased self, is what comes up naturally, spontaneously, and effortlessly when you chill out. You will understand that a side effect of silence is that many problems just disappear without you having had to make them disappear. Well-being is not something that has to be achieved, not something you have to fulfill conditions for, but something you relax back into. Is your birthright in your most natural state. Most people on this planet say they suffer from this and that, but what they're simply suffering from is exhaustion. Exhaustion has its roots in believing you have to prove something, or struggle, or achieve something, or make something happen, otherwise you might not be worth anything. But this is so very untrue. It does take more effort to feel bad than good. But the most beautiful things don't take any effort at all. Have you noticed how a whole galaxy and planets revolving around a sun, and air to breathe, and your heartbeat are sustained effortlessly without you having to do anything? The best things are for free. What exactly you do in your time out is up to you. You can have a massage, read a book, watch a good movie, go for a swim, go for a walk, have sex, have a glass of wine, or just lazy around. None of these things are highly esoteric or mysterious principles, but they have the effect of leading you back to who you are much more efficiently than any teaching or technique could do. Having the courage to take many timeouts and turning them into treating yourself to pleasantries means you are demonstrating the power of not running away from the world, not letting yourself be driven and pushed by the world, but calling out, "No, this is my time out, and I will realign with my positive feeling of natural self. I will not reemerge from my time out until I feel better." But it is not in order to work magic that you are taking your time out. It is because you are worth it. Aligning desire and belief. One of the deeper secrets of reality creation, which most New Age teachings fail to mention, is that by closing the gap between what you desire and what you believe, you can experience anything you want. Traditionally, New Age teachings will tell you you can have anything you really desire, while others will say you can have anything you believe. You are now learning that it is the alignment of desire and belief, closing the gap, which actually manifests reality. You cannot have anything you desire, and you cannot have anything you claim to believe, but you can have anything you truly believe. Write down 5 things you desire, goals, wishes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now write down what you really believe, know about these subjects. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Example, I desire more money, but I believe I have to work hard for it. I also believe that I don't want to work hard, which again doesn't allow me to have any money. Now, simply notice the gap between what you want and what you believe. It is this discrepancy that causes the most turmoil to your energy vibration. The feeling of relief being the best indicator that you've made a vibratory jump. The opposition of desire and belief causes an energetic pulling and tugging, a strain, tension, and resistance, which is just the opposite of relief. There are only 2 solutions to close the gap and find relief. 1. Downgrade your desire. 2. Upgrade your belief. Which of the 2 is it going to be then? Some teach you should give up your desires. And the reason they teach that is because it will cause relief and thus more alignment with your true self. Downgrading your desire would mean to set a smaller, more realistic goal. That would be one that does not strain you or exert expectational pressure. Focusing on a goal that is much higher than what you are willing to really believe is like trying to jump on a train that is going too fast. Not only do you run like crazy in order to get on the train, but also face the possibility of getting bruised, hurt, and disappointed when you lie on the ground beside the train track and the train disappears into the distance. Downgrading your desire would mean to slow the train down. Upgrading your belief would mean to speed up yourself. How do you know when your desires and beliefs are in alignment? You feel it. It feels good. So let's try both. First, reformulate your desires list so that it is more of a match to your beliefs. Example, desire, I want more money. Belief, I believe I have to work hard for it. I also believe that I don't want to work hard, which again doesn't allow me to have any money. Downgraded desire, I want to find a job. Now, reformulate your beliefs so that they are more a match to your desires. Desire, I want more money. Upgraded belief, I believe I can find a job that I enjoy and make money this way. By what you feel like when you formulate a belief or desire, you know if there's alignment between the two. And once there is alignment, rest in the feeling of relief. It is enough to rest in the feeling of relief. Enough to attract events into your life that match the new intention. You do not ask for the when, how and where of the manifestation. The feeling of it being real must be enough proof for now. Infinity takes its own time to restructure according to your vibrations. Scaling. Some readers which tend to want to aim higher will hesitate to downgrade their desires, which is why I offer another, more specific method to upgrade one's beliefs here. You may use variations of this technique, but first try out the basic form mentioned in the previous exercise. Step 1. Notice an unwanted emotion, a fear, an anger, frustration, sadness, or shame. Step 2. Ask yourself, what must I be consciously or subconsciously be thinking or believing to feel this way? Then, write down the thoughts that come to mind. Writing them down makes them clearer, more precise, more conscious rather than vague, foggy, and ever-shifting mind stuff. Step 3. Assume that that thought you wrote down is a level 3 thought, and downgrade that same thought to level 2, exaggerate it to the worse, make it sound worse, make the same thought a level 1 thought. Pull the lever down and create something worse than that intentionally. Then downgrade the same thought to level 1, making it even worse. Step 4. Now, create a level 4 thought. Take the very same thought from level 3 to level 4. That means you make it just a little more positive on what you want to think instead of that thought, but you keep it realistic. The level 4 version of that thought should be a positive thought that you want to think instead, but it should be a thought that comes easily, one you easily believe, one you can easily feel, one that relieves you. If you don't feel the sensation of relief in the body, you have not chosen an appropriate formulation of the thought. Step 5. Now create the same thought as a level 5 thought. Make it even more positive. State what you really want instead of that level 2 thought. An example. Let's say your original level 3 thought is, I am overweight and feel bad about it. You would transform that thought into a level 2 thought, writing, I feel fat and unattractive. Then you would take that concept to level 1. I feel like a fat pig, a glutton, a wobbly, ugly monster. Then you would choose a level 4 thought. Well, I am once again overweight, but I guess I can change that. I do have to eat more consciously, take more walks. The level 4 thought must be realistic enough for you to believe, something you already believe anyway. You cannot replace negative beliefs with positive ones you can't believe, positive ones that are too high. You must find and choose a thought that allows you to feel relief. Writing down the thought. I am not overweight at all. I feel great might not be the authentic, honest, and appropriate thought. After that, you choose a level 5 thought, which, however, must also be honest. The level 5 thought contains what you truly want. Well, I really do want to have ideal weight, eat more consciously, move more, and appreciate my body the way it is. You proceed in the same way for each and every thought you originally wrote down, first scaling it down to level 1, then up to 5R. Why would you scale it down first? This gives you more control over the thought itself. If you can first scale it down, you'll have an easier time scaling it up. The reaction to scaling it down might be more emotional release or an uncovering of what lies deeper than the original level 2 thought, or may make the thought sound more funny or ridiculous, one of both. If you can then upscale the thought in written form and make it realistic enough so that you can actually feel the thought's effects in your body, then you've successfully replaced it and upgraded your emotional vibration. The emotional feeling will have to suffice as enough evidence of the reality for now. With a little buffer of time, things will begin to show up that reflect your new feeling. Appreciation. Appreciation of things, places, people, or finding things to appreciate will melt the resistances you have in life and speed up desirable occurrences by more than you might imagine. Appreciation, when practiced not for the sake of getting something or manifesting something, but for the sake of love and enjoyment in the now, is the wand of the wizard. Appreciation, admiration, love, like acknowledgement, vibrates on a special frequency that attracts all types of positive events, not only the ones you are appreciating. Only what you fear can hurt you. Feeling appreciation while having your attention on something equals channeling higher dimensional energy into physical reality. This does not mean you have to appreciate things you don't like, although that would be an advanced variation of the exercise, but to find things you already naturally appreciate. The more you appreciate, the more you'll be appreciated by life, others, and infinity. Appreciation in this sense has nothing to do with the pretense of putting on a happy face, but of a true and deep understanding and love of things and people. And this is the most irresistible force in the world. Gandhi conquered an armed gathering of men with it. When the command came to fire at him, their hands and legs started shaking and they were unable to fire. Why? Because Gandhi used power, not force. And love is the most powerful weapon out there, not just as some sweet new age phrase, but as a real thing. Take a walk somewhere and spot as many things as you can say yes to. Ignore anything you would say no to. Simply only notice the things you appreciate and silently acknowledge, bless, admire, and appreciate them. Your vibratory offering will have increased 1,000-fold. Next, write down things, people, places, cultures, events, memories, thoughts, fantasies, locations, books, movies, music, art, cities, objects that you appreciate, admire, are fascinated by, like want more of. Do not mention anything that you don't want. The universe is inclusive, not exclusive. That means you get more of anything you put attention to. That means you ultimately get everything you say yes to and everything you say no to. Next, write down a few people or things you don't like. Beside that, write down the aspects you do or can appreciate about them. If you can't find anything to appreciate about them, then write down how this unwanted person, thing, if it might be a service to you, might help you, could be used or utilized by you for a good purpose or what you might learn from it. Remembering the feeling. There are many ways to focus energy by looking at something out there, by looking at something in here, meaning visualizing or daydreaming, by hearing, writing, speaking, and doing, or by remembering. In this exercise, simply remember times, places, people, situations in which you had energy or money or were happy or successful. The moment you remember is the moment you're getting back into alignment with that same energy, warming it up again. This will lead to similar things happening again in the near future. Emo clear. Emo clear is my short word for emotional clearing. This is another way of saying turning emotional pain into emotional joy. Here's something very important for you to learn. It is not an emotion that is causing a pain. It is the resistance or suppression of the emotion that is causing pain. What you call fear, sadness, or anger is merely energy in the body, and your resistance towards it is what is making the energy feel like pain. In emo clear, we let negative feelings flow through us. Why equals because there is no such thing as emotional pain or negative feelings. It is the judgment, label, or evaluation of the feeling which makes the feeling feel bad. It is not the energy itself that feels bad, but the resistance to it. The resistance, the pain. Energy comes up, you habitually and reactively label it as bad, or fear, or sad, or undesirable. And it is in that moment that it turns into something undesirable. What you're feeling is not the energy itself, but something you've constructed over it, some resistance. Transmuting this energy into joy involves no longer avoiding and resisting it, letting it through. By doing this, you make the energy useful for you. You free it up and claim the jewel that lies within. Suppression causes a tension or block of energy, which the body then translates into pain. In this light, fear and joy are the very same thing. How so? Energy flows through the body. If it flows through an unwanted thought or belief, you experience that energy as fear. If it flows through a wanted thought or belief, you experience the same energy as joy. It then follows that suppressing emotions equals suppressing your own life energy. It also follows that when you remove the unwanted belief filter or release the resistance, that what you called pain naturally turns into energy, which can also be felt neutrally or as joy. Simply notice an issue or feeling that has been troubling you. Then dive into the feeling, allow it, immerse yourself in it, breathe as it. Give up any resistance, label, opinion, or judgment. Explore it, go into it, identify with it deliberately, and let it play out. It will eventually play out. And after it does, you will feel much lighter and probably ask, now what? If the feeling is still felt as unpleasant, there is still some resistance or labeling or belief that it is not serving you. So you might want to ask, how is this issue secretly serving me? Or simply let it play out some more. Finally, after it's all flowed through and you once again feel soft and light at heart, you may define what you would like to experience instead or even begin a pure session. Energy file. What you look at looks at you. When you look at something beautiful, preferable, pleasant, your vibratory or emotional energy shifts and changes. If you're in a normal state, it will only take about 20 to 60 seconds of looking at something nice for your vibration to lift off. If you're in a bad or difficult state, it may take a few minutes. An exercise that I've devised for myself is to collect all kinds of nice, desirable pictures in a file on my computer. On a regular basis, I put pictures of things that I like, want, fondly remember, and fascinated by, admire, and appreciate into this file. And I look at these pictures when I want to boost my vibration. Sometimes I even play them as a slideshow on my computer. I also create different picture files for different topics. The titles I put on these files are statements of what I want to manifest. For example, one file reads, Places I want to play and work at, and the file contains picture of beaches, mountains, intelligent-looking people, interesting buildings and locations. Another file reads, Things I want to own, and the pictures contained are that of nice cars, nice objects, nice resources and accessories, and so forth. There are many variations of the exercise, but the basic message is, beware of what you look at, for that is looking at you. Beware of what you include into your stream of thought and feeling. Learn to choose where your attention and emotions go, rather than being swept away by what the world is offering you to look at. You only experience what you feel. If somewhere near you a disaster happens, and you have no fear inside you, nothing bad will happen to you. You can only be harmed by what you fear. You can never be harmed when you feel love within you. Finding the feeling. 1. Write down an issue which you want to improve. 2. Write down what you really think about this issue. In order to really feel the thought you are holding, you may exaggerate a bit. 3. Now, write, I want to find thoughts on this issue that feel better. 4. Now write your list of thoughts. For every thought you write down, note if this is a thought that feels A. Worse. B. The same. C. Better. While doing this exercise, stay with the feeling so that you can an intimate understanding about how some thoughts feel compared to others. You will make a few interesting discoveries. You will discover that there are some thoughts of which you pretended that they feel good that actually don't really change your state at all. The thought which you thought was better might leave you in the same vibratory position or simply have become boring because you have thought it so many times. You will also find some thoughts you pretended feel better that are actually too unrealistic to your current belief system, that they exert pressure rather than pleasure. Don't invalidate or analyze the thoughts that feel the same or worse. Keep your intention on finding thoughts that really feel better or relieve you. Sometimes it will take a while until you find the feeling that you really want. Take your time. Sometimes it's not done in one day and you'll want to repeat it. There is nothing more important than finding your natural feeling of well-being, for it is this feeling that you correspond with the worlds of your dreams. Example, chosen topic, time pressure, intensifying the feeling. I feel time pressure. I feel a retching in my throat from it. I feel time pressure in my stomach. I am afraid not to fulfill expectations. I'm getting old. Finding thoughts that feel better, indicating in brackets what the apparent better thought really feels like. I need better time management, worse. I need vacation, worse. Maybe I should just admit that I want to make the deadline, worse. Time is a construct of consciousness, same. Time doesn't exist, same. I ought to live in the here and now, same. I should just take the time I need, same. Why am I doing all of this? Worse, tears. I just want to do a good job, better. I have all the time in the world, same. I'll just take the time, same. Well, I really don't know, better. Maybe I just want to relax, better. I have to decide between my husband and work, worse. I'll decide for my husband, worse. I'll decide for work, worse. Both decisions are no good, better realization. I don't have to make a decision, same. I like this exercise better. Instead of making a decision, it's about time to raise my emotional level better. I'll think about something good, same. I'll think about my last success, same. I sure put myself under a lot of pressure about time, better. I already feel a bit better, same. Well, a little bit better, better. All I actually want to do is deliver the documents at the right time, better. I could deliver the documents on time, better. I will delegate the rest to Susan, same. I will delegate the rest to Tom, better. This exercise is done until you feel enough better thoughts to actually have changed your state. Since like attracts like, you will notice how more and more good feeling thoughts come to your mind that you weren't aware of before. During the process, there will still be thoughts that feel the same or worse, but you can do the exercise until you feel high and free enough not be worried about them. This can be done with any topic. Your new state of being will turn into reality. This is yet another single exercise that has the power to change everything. Energy list. Simply take a piece of paper and write down things that you are interested in, are fascinated by, are excited about, are enthusiastic about, appreciate, admire, like, love, find beautiful, find brilliant, find euphoric. This list may include places, people, desires, locations in nature, artists, colors, movies, books, cultures, teachers, scenarios, situations, memories, ideas, profession, money, health, body, love, sex, spirituality, culture, politics, fashion, music, architecture, paradigms, organizations, or whatever else comes to mind. You have just created the energy that aligns with your truest self and higher purpose. There is nothing more important. Even if society or others or the rational mind may deem some of the things on your list unimportant, they are what your innermost soul enjoys and thus indicators of your ideal life's path. A movie you get excited about has so much more to do with your life's plan than something reasonable that contains no such energy. The truth is not somewhere in the next chapter of this book, but already on your self-created list. When you follow joy, bliss, inner peace, and excitement, the right things happen naturally and effortlessly. You learn effortlessly, you remain healthy effortlessly, money flows in effortlessly. These issues become things you don't have to think about because you are in your natural vibration of well-being. What your soul wants is not contained in some secondhand recommendation or book, but on this list. You notice how merely considering these things, merely writing them down, puts you in a state of high energy. While contemporary society will label not facing the facts as denial, the wizard will label not admitting your true desires as denial. Notice how the things on your list needn't have anything to do with what others think is appropriate, or even with what you thought is appropriate. Neither is the list intended as a goals list of things you have to do or achieve. It is merely intended as a list that puts you back in connection with your feelings, a list you can meditate on if you wish, a list you can daydream on. Also notice how you didn't even have to meet several conditions before you could allow yourself to feel it in the here and now. You didn't place dozens of things before being happy. What would your life be about if you could allow these feelings to touch you more frequently? What happens to your body sense and body posture? What happens to your movements? What happens to your facial expression? What happens to your memories? What happens to where your attention goes? In which way do your priorities change? In which way does your reaction to adverse events change? In which way does your voice change? In which way does your thinking change? What changes merely by being aware of what excites you? And what makes you disallow these feelings to flow in once in a while? Your everyday reality is a reflection of what identity and accompanying body feeling you project. And this you can create independent of what's happening around you. So, why not get into the flow now? Because of obligations you hold? Fine. You may continue to fulfill your obligations, but never have that many that you can no longer spend some time each day in joy. Otherwise, you're missing the point of your life. That don't commit to too many obligations. The ones you no longer feel comfortable with. End them in respect and integrity. There are things you used to do because you believed you need them for survival. Now that you know how to create reality, you no longer need some of these things, and you're no longer willing to pursue them. Drop them. Quit doing what is not good for you. There will be a few remaining obligations, such as paying taxes, but once you spend much of your time in joy, you will no longer be feeling that as a burden. When you are in the flow of energy, uncanny coincidences start appearing because you are shifting into parallel worlds. And making the list you just made is only one of many ways to get into the flow. I'll share some other ways with you, but I invite you to come up with your own. Go for a walk. Relax. Perceive something beautiful and breathe it in. Hold your breath for a moment before you breathe out slowly. Repeat this for about 10 minutes or more. Allow admiration to expand. What do you feel like? Go for a walk. Perceive something you normally criticize. Observe it neutrally. Give up judgment on it. Now notice some things about it you could find good, positive aspects of it. Do this for about 10 minutes. Allow appreciation and understanding to expand. Afterwards, how do you feel? Go for a walk. Imagine that everything you ever wanted, all desires and longings are already fulfilled. Breathe softly, slowly, and deeply, and accept the reality of your vision 100%. Do this for a few minutes. How do you feel? Consider an activity that you always wanted to do but denied yourself of it. Choose something that would actually be easy to do immediately. Then do it. How does that make you feel? Go for a walk. Observe another human being. Notice her breathing and heart beating. Notice how similar she is to you, in that she also experiences good times and bad times, and also strives for completeness. Allow love and appreciation. If you want, take on the viewpoint of the person. Look as the person. How do you feel? Put on a piece of music you love and let yourself be taken away by a daydream of your choice. Combine the soundtrack with a scenario you wouldn't mind having fulfilled. Make a list of things you criticize about yourself. Put your right hand on your heart and leave it there for the remainder of the session. Look at the first item on your list and ask yourself, if I truly accepted and loved myself, how would I feel about this item? Breathe. Notice. Go through the whole list this way. This can also be done with other people, of course. It can also be done with undesired realities that you haven't fully accepted. Want what you have, then you can have what you want. Notice the way these activities make you feel. Notice what they do to your life. Appreciation is the sword of the wizard, and it transforms everything. No darkness can prevail in the light of appreciation. Although these activities may seem as many different ones, they all come down to one single thing. Are you following the path of the heart, which is the path of true power, or are you following the path of force, which is the prime failure method? Are you involved with something that represents your highest interests, or are you wasting your time fighting something you don't want? If you object that you don't know what it is that excites you, I will share with you that you do very well know what excites you, but refuse to admit it out of the mistaken belief that you can't act on it, or that you will be disappointed by acting on it. Where you have identification instead of expectation, there is no such thing as disappointment. Following one excitement may not lead to its fulfillment, but to something else that is even better. If you object that you have to wait before you can do something you truly love, I will share with you that those who make the best of the little they already have will get more and more with less and less effort. If you object that what you love is not productive in the sense of making money, I will share with you that you are gravely mistaken. By doing things you don't love, you will make a mediocre sum of money, always barely enough to survive. If the excuse for not following your joy is security, the only security you will be getting is to lead a mediocre life and then have your body die. Period. You can only make good money by flowing energy and love. The secret path. We've talked about creating states of high energy, without which reality creation does not work. High energy is the energy needed to create something new. But there's also a second path, an alternative path that works quite well. This consists of noticing what already contains energy, happiness, interest, fascination, love, what is already offering itself to you, and then going in that direction. By following this thread of objects and events, you're on the quickest path to your soul's purpose, whether you are aware of it or not. This type of behavior turns life into the easiest and most effortless trip you can imagine. It has been kept secret because most souls incarnate not with the purpose to have an easy life, but to experience limitation and struggle. If that is no longer your preference, you can follow the secret path. Imagine a cork floating in the ocean. For this cork, it is effortless to stay over water. It takes more effort for the cork to be underwater. But once you let go, it plops back up to the surface automatically. This is exactly what a life without resistance is like. There are no such things as lazy people, but only activities that are not in alignment with one's true self. Following the path of your truest self, following joy, makes you a person of magical charisma. If something, anything, is really you, you notice by what you feel like when you do it. However, the things that are really you change in the lake of time. Attaching to something, although it no longer contains the energy, love, joy it used to contain, means you have strayed from the soul's secret path. Should you continue to follow that path, the puzzle pieces of your life come together in surprising and graceful ways. Following joy does not necessarily mean that you constantly have to be working on your biggest project or career of your life or finding the soulmate. It can mean that, but doesn't have to. Following the path laid out before you often involves the little things. People often tend to invalidate themselves when following something different than that big project, but that big project is not always the thing that feels the very best on any given day. And your soul mate is not always the only content of your life. Instead, we follow the path from moment to moment, hour to hour, and day to day in gentle steps. In every here-now film reel, in every scene of the moment, in every moment, you have a variety of options at your disposal. A choice of things you could focus on or do. No matter where you are, no matter who you always have more than one option. Now, in order to follow the soul's secret path, or God's calling, all you have to do is choose the option that shines the brightest, evokes the most interest, contains the most energy, and follow it as good as you can for now. Let's say you take stock of the present moment, and at the moment, there are 5 obvious things you could do. Of course, there are an unlimited amount of things, but you prioritize to 5. Now simply choose the option containing the most energy, no matter if it seems reasonable or not. Interest and joy are the best indicators for what is right for you. The world self cannot see the consequences of his actions, but it can feel them beforehand. That's all. You can now put the book aside because it's not going to get any easier than that. But what then? What after that? Well, after you've followed that interest, there comes a time when you've used up the energy contained within it, and you find yourself in a new here and now, a new scenario. Then you once again take stock of the present moment, noticing which options lie before you. You evaluate which possibilities lie right in front of your nose, which are immediately available, and then again choose the one that contains the most energy. And once you've determined that, because you feel it, you go in that direction as good as you can for now. You carry this activity or focus as far as it will go and to the best of your knowledge. And there will come a point at which the activity or focus will have played itself out and contain no more energy. When this point comes, instead of invalidating and insulting yourself or questioning your existence, you simply move on by asking yourself, of all the available options, which thing contains the most energy now? There will always be an option that sticks out compared to the others, one that offers itself. Then you follow it, and so forth and so on, to the end of this life. Energy, in the form of joy, interest, love, peace, is the thread that leads you to all other energies and truer life purposes. It is the secret thread of higher self that leads you to things that you may not be able to see from your limited viewpoint, but a higher version of you is able to see. It is a signal, an intuition of what path your soul intends to travel. Because of the limited perspective of the world self and its nervously forcing its free will, most people ignore and trivialize this signal instead of following it. The world self cannot possibly imagine the purpose or reasoning of certain activities, but the higher self, with its overview of many millions of years and timelines, can. This higher self is the playful version of you and is beaconing you to a life design much grander than the one you, as world self, envision. Your feelings are indicators that show you if you're following this path or not. For anyone asking about his life's mission or destiny or meaning of life, that issue has just been answered. It is in the following of the secret path that one's life's purpose reveals itself piece by piece. There is one more consideration to following the path, though. Follow it with integrity. What does that mean? All is one, and what you put out or give is what you get. That means you follow the path. You follow your personal excitement, but not as an eccentric running amok, but with dignity and respect towards the reality frames of your fellow humans, without harming others. It is easily possible to follow one's bliss without harming others. What integrity does not mean. Let's say you are in a relationship that has run out of energy since many years, meaning it no longer offers opportunities for experience and growth. Saying, well, I will not end my relationship because I feel sorry for my girlfriend is not what integrity is all about. Integrity has nothing to do with the socially indoctrinated and hypocritical views of morals. Integrity means egoism in the positive sense. It means doing what is right for you without intentionally and knowingly harming others. In our example, that would mean examining your beliefs before you break up the relationship. And if, after you release limiting beliefs toward your partner, and you still don't match, you would break up the relationship in a respectful and appreciative tone of voice and manner. That's integrity. All these are just words. The fire of love does not burn on these pages, but within consciousness. If it burns high enough, not only will the rest follow from that naturally, but it will also burn these pages. In the presence of the fire of love, nothing else is important. Sometimes the thing you would love or that would interest you does not seem to be in alignment to what you think you are supposed to be doing. But things are rarely as they appear on the outside. The outside appearance may show you one thing, while intuition, your soul's communication, may indicate something else. Here is an example from one of my coachings. Coach, take stock of the present moment. What are your options? Student, well, we're sitting in this park. I'd have the option to go home now and work. I'd also have the option to sit here and relax. I think I like that option better. It feels better. But there's a third option that I'd enjoy the most. I like go over and feed those swans. After that, I'd like to take off my clothes and jump into that current over there. Silly, isn't it? Coach, okay, do exactly that. Student, I think I'll settle for the second option of just sitting here and relaxing. And after that, I should get home to do some work. I need to get some more customers for my business. Coach, well, don't you want to try to follow that hunch your intuition just gave you? Student, it seems counterproductive to go feed the swans and then jump into the water now. I don't really need it. Coach, you think the swans would agree that it's counterproductive? Student, well, for them maybe not. Look, let's call it a day. I really have some important stuff to do. Coach, excitement is infinity's signal, God's calling, and shows you what is to be done, no matter the concerns of your ego. Trust it. Do it. What happened thereafter? Faking reluctance, the student got up with a grin on his face. As he started feeding the swans, a woman joined him in doing the same thing. They eventually struck up a conversation, then an acquaintance. It later turned out that this woman employed 9,000 people, many of which soon became customers of our student. Within a few minutes, he had gotten more business there at the lake than he would have gotten in 3 months of work. It is only when you are not aligned with yourself, not trusting self and life, that this type of behavior is risky or requires courage. And if the amount of fear that suddenly wells up due to certain exciting options is overwhelming, you best not take that path, because the belief in failure is certain to produce failure. You best change that belief before you take that action. Basically, we are always faced with two options when an action does not feel good. Change the action or the belief about it. There are some instances in which fear is merely a form of excitement or enthusiasm that is being resisted. Your higher self, a more expanded version of yourself, already knows what your desires are and have been. You don't actually have to repeat them hundreds of times. It knows. And because it knows, it offers up certain options that look interesting and that would lead to the quickest fulfillment of that desire, even if it doesn't look like it has anything to do with the desire. It's as his higher self is dangling a carrot stick in order for you to enter one direction. And once having entered that new space are the next steps visible, and it eventually becomes visible how all these things have lead up to your desire. The prerequisite for adjusting and calibrating your actions, focus and directions according to your true interests is of course again silence, time out. You cannot take stock of the present moment and feel yourself if you are racing from one event to the next without any consideration. Before entering the next segment of the day, how about taking a short time out and determining what options you have and what day segments you can enter? And not only that, how about giving a short statement of intention for what you want to experience with the next segment of the day? Is it too much asked to live your life a bit more consciously and deliberately, and perhaps a bit less on automatic? A small-scale variation of this principle. Go for a walk without any specific destination. Notice some object that interests you. Go over to it and examine it. Feel it, touch it, study it until you've learned a few things about it and your curiosity is satisfied. Then continue walking, looking for the next thing that captures your interest. Walk from event/place/object to another and surf the waves of increasing euphoria. Go for a walk in silent amazement. Recall the attitude of amazement you had as a child or you have when you travel to foreign countries. While walking, try to view everything with amazement. Your eyes a bit more wide open, your breathing a bit deeper, your walk a bit more upright. Go for a walk in silent gratitude. Contemplate on all the things you're grateful for, all the things you've received which you now acknowledge. Relax and become silent and allow gratitude to also expand to the things and people that surround you. Go for a walk with the assumption that you will experience something unexpected, some surprise on this walk. Remain in the feeling that anything can happen anytime, and that surprise and the unexpected lurks at every corner, that something new can be anywhere. Assume that life is full of miracles and adventure and mystery. Notice how this assumption improves your mood. Amazement plus gratitude plus openness plus appreciation equals an irresistible field of energy. Options. Look around you and notice the options you have that you could act upon. Of course, every here-now moment contains millions of options and paths you could follow. But let's say you notice only a few, 3, 4, 5. If you want, write them down. Now, of these 5 options that you could act upon here and now, today, 1 or 2 are shining brighter than the others, are more interesting, inspiring, joyful, relaxing, or exciting than the others. Choose the one that is the most interesting and that you can follow without detriment to others or former commitments you've set up. That's following joy with integrity. Then act upon that, feel the energy it gives you, and experience it until the energy starts to fade, until you've fully experienced it. Once the interest starts to fade, stop. You will now be standing in a new here and now, with brand new options, some of which you did not even notice before when you first chose an option. You are now standing in a new viewpoint. You are now a different person than you were just a while ago. Now look what options you have, and choose the one that is the most interesting, contains the most joy, relaxation, love, or excitement, and follow that. Don't get stuck in something that is no longer interesting just because it was interesting or used to be interesting. Take stock. What are the options you have now? What is the one that is most interesting, that feels the best to you, and that you can follow with integrity, meaning without breaking the laws of your country, without intentionally harming others? Then act upon that, get the energy out of that, and so forth and so on. If you'd be doing it like this for the rest of your life, you'd be following the pearl necklace that your higher self, your soul has laid out for you. This would be the quickest path to your life's plan, the quickest path to higher consciousness, the quickest path to have all that you intended to experience, to begin happening in your life. Fear. What you fear you attract. What you are afraid of has already happened because you're already suffering from it. All choices can be broken down to 2 choices, the choice for fear or the choice for love. While these statements most of us know from pop psychology and New Age are true, they're not necessarily helpful because fear of fear causes more fear. The topic of fear fills countless books and courses. Not only that, it drives whole industries, even a whole civilization. Since enough has been said about fear elsewhere, I'd like to offer a few new ways of dealing with it. One of the greatest misunderstandings in human history may well be that fear is the enemy, something to get rid of as quickly as possible. But is life, or even conscious living, all about getting rid of fear? In my view, this is the philosophy of cowards that are afraid of being afraid. In a new light, fear is not the problem, but the childish handling of fear to want to get rid of it as quickly as possible without actually having to look at the message it is trying to deliver. In reality, surfing fear is not a problem, but a friend, indicator, servant, barometer, energy. It exists to tell you that you are, at the moment of fear, not being familiar with your cause over reality. Viewing fear this way will lessen fear, but will never make it disappear altogether. And why should it? Why would you want to get rid of your navigational system that is telling you where to go and where not to go? Another misunderstanding is that there is such a thing as fear in general. Instead, there is a fear concerning something, and such a fear can be handled by psycho-spiritual means. The real problem here is trying to get rid of fear in general. Someone might release his fear of spiders, but that doesn't mean he will never fear anything again, but he will not fear spiders anymore. Next time he expands his awareness, he will come upon new limits, new unknowns, and fear will arise again. It is here that fear is an indicator that one is expanding, reaching new frontiers. In general, fear indicates unfamiliarity with something. The more familiar you become with it, the less you fear it. And familiarity grows with the attention you give something. One way to lose fear is therefore to become more familiar with what you're being afraid of. Another way to handle fear, that has already been mentioned, is to dive into it. Immerse yourself into the energy in your body, while removing all labels, judgments, and resistances until you either reach a point where you say, okay, now what? Or what you labeled as fear turns into what it was all along, energy. Yet another way to handle fear is to use it as the indicator that is pointing you to some belief that is not in alignment with your desire. Depending on what you are consciously intending, what you fear will change. Without the fear, you wouldn't even be noticing that you are counter-intending. It can also be an indicator of an action, person, or plan that is not in alignment with you who you really are. What the fear is then trying to say is, change your course, and once you do change the belief or action, the fear will subside. It has fulfilled its purpose and is no longer necessary. And yet another way to handle fear is to relabel the feeling you feel in your body as excitement, rather than continuing to insist that it's fear and something bad. Watch what happens to the feeling when you do that. And another way to handle fear would be to go to anger or rage, which is exactly one emotional level above fear. Finding something to get angry about will quickly transport you out of fear and leave you with more power than the fear. Yet another way to handle it is to switch focus to something more joyous. And still another way is to confront what you fear eye to eye with the tiger. And still another way to handle it is to ask yourself what could happen if what you fear really occurs, and then what could happen if that occurs, and so on, until you find what you are really afraid of. And another way to handle fear would be to terrorize your fear by mentally becoming something much worse and bigger than it, and then attacking it. As you can see, you have dozens of options of what you can do, and you don't have to fall victim to fear in the same old way every time. Once fear notices that you're no longer the reactive victim of it, but a player, it won't show up much anymore. Abusing fear. This is a secret technique in which you use or even abuse fear rather than it letting abuse you. You know that you attract what you are afraid of. So next time you feel fear, how about letting that feeling become stronger and then connecting it to the thought of something you would like to attract into your life? Transmuting emotions releases them. Transferring emotions, or putting them somewhere else, does not release them but makes use of them in order to experience certain things. Examples. Fear of something undesired can be transferred to fear of something desired happening. Fear of spiders can be transferred to fear of chocolate if you wish to release a chocolate addiction. Doubt in your abilities can be transferred to doubt in your inabilities. Anger at another person can be transferred to anger about your laziness if you wish to have more drive. These are only a few examples of how negative energy can be put to a positive use. Vibration too high. There is one different type of fear I would like to touch on shortly here. When people are confronted with vibrations that are too high for them, they sometimes react with fear and resistance. Imagine a UFO landing in Aunt Annie's garden. While it may be a higher vibration, it will not necessarily be healthy for her. When you're in trouble. When people are in trouble, meaning they have seemingly lost their connection to all that is, they tend to become quite reactive. When you're in trouble, silence is recommended. Retreat and go deeper into silence. Just sit there and allow yourself to take a step back to be the observer rather than the immersed. And simply observe what thoughts and feelings come about, without additional resistance or invalidation. What is there for a reason. Allow it to be there. Many experience surprising solutions and relief only by being still. Assume unconditional responsibility for everything going on right now. Assume that you are the sole creator of the situation, even if it seems that someone or something else is. Consider that the issue is somehow serving you, maybe to protect you from something you imagine is no good for you. These things are happening on levels of belief you seem not to notice. Never having money might protect you from being a bad person if you believe that only bad people are financially affluent. You can skip the steps of looking for subtle and hidden beliefs if you simply take responsibility and then go to the next step. Allow yourself to shift your attention to a better version of yourself. Receive an ideal version of yourself with a different body posture and facial expression. Identify with that version as if the reality you prefer were already true. Feel what it feels like and rest in that feeling. Playing with energy. What follows is an example of playful and creative freestyle practice. Choose something that feels unpleasant, pressure, pain, emotion. Now, play with this energy by putting your attention inside it, synchronizing, replacing your negative label that is bad with a positive one that is energy, breathing into it. Imagine a color into it, medicine, humming into it, making it worse before you make it better, placing your hand on it and transferring the energy into your hand, feeling it in your hand instead of where it was before, transferring the energy into an object before putting it back in the body, transferring it into the air before transferring it back into the body, noticing how the feeling has improved on a scale from 1 to 0 10, and how if that improvement can take place, further improvement can take place. Source meditation. Become aware of the things in your surroundings. Speak to the things in your surroundings. Experience the surroundings as yourself. Relax the body. State an intention. Take a deep breath. State something you're grateful for. Take a deep breath. State another intention. Take a deep breath. State something you can forgive. Touch something. Touch something else. Notice something you can change. Change it. Notice something you can't change. Change it anyway. Move your energy. Focus only on what you can hear. Experience beauty. Demonstrate a positive body posture. Ask yourself, when did I stop laughing, singing, and dancing? Retrieve your spirit. State an optimistic intention. Take a breath. Ask yourself, if I had one more month to live, what would I do? Ask yourself, what could I now admit to myself? Smile until you feel the smile. Naturalness of RC. To demand to learn RC quickly is an intent of the lacking, desperate, and impatient world self. RC is a reversal of everything you've been taught and may take a lifetime to comprehend fully. Yes, of course, you can have results overnight. But RC is not meant to be an issue you learn within a short time and then say, all right, got it, what's next? It is something you deal with for a lifetime because the law of correspondence operates for a lifetime and beyond. But measuring a shift or improvement in context of linear time is inappropriate to RC anyway. Instead, sometimes you are in the flow of it, sometimes you are not, no matter what phase of the RC journey you are in. Dwelling on how long it takes to master this is yet another variation of being immersed in a belief in linear time. You can represent masterful RC anytime, and you can represent lousy RC anytime, depending on how resistant or willing you are to take on a new viewpoint. The readiness to take a leap of faith is always helpful in RC. Putting all your eggs in one reality basket will speed things up. Putting your eggs in more than one basket will slow things down, but also make it easier. Some people will only make the leap when they are in a crisis, but you don't need a crisis to take a leap into a new world. What's most important is that RC practice remains or becomes more and more natural. Throw off the baggage of knowledge, questions, complications, and rest in your inner joy and effortlessness. Incorporate the knowledge into everyday life without making a big fuss of it. When something nice occurs, you don't need to label it as totally incredible and weird because that presupposes the belief that RC is somehow rare or unnatural. Don't get yourself worked up into an expectation frenzy or desperate clinging to certain beliefs. Allow RC to become as natural as breathing. Many teach that it is desire that is the creative force, or that it is willpower that is the creative force. RC teaches that it is not directly desire or willpower, but rather willingness and readiness. You may, for example, notice how there is something you don't want, but on some level you are still willing to put up with it. If you weren't willing to put up with it, you would no longer be experiencing it. Or you may notice that there is something you want, but on some level you are not really ready, willing to experience it yet. A typical example is that of someone claiming to want the perfect partner, but actually being so busy with others' things that she is not really willing to put up with another person at the moment. Try the following experiment. Write down a few things you want. Write down a few things you're willing to experience. Write down a few things you don't want. Write down a few things you're no longer willing to experience. Only the things that appear on all four lists, on the last two lists as their opposites, will manifest in your life. Summary. Emotion relates to all other subjects in this book in a two-way street. For example, emotion relates to attention and that what you feel directs where your attention goes. Vice versa, attention also directs where your emotions go. Shift your attention and your emotion shifts. Shift your emotion and your attention shifts. The same thing applies to action, belief, core beliefs, and identity, as explained in the chapter on the 5 levels of reality creation. So what you feel is an indicator of what belief or identity you are viewing the world from currently. And the identity you assume will reflect as a real body sense. It is in this way that you can use your emotions as the navigational system they were meant to be, rather than suppressing emotions, trying to produce emotions, and all the other misguided attempts we've been taught. Rather than creating emotions, use emotions as an indicator of what you are creating. And remember that it is impossible for harm to come to you in a state of emotional elation. It is very difficult to get sick in a state of enthusiasm. It is very difficult to have learning difficulties in a state of interest. It is impossible to get hurt by someone you love, contrary to popular belief. You can only get hurt by something or someone you fear. Emotions show you the motion that your energy is taking. When you understand this, you can easily predict if good or bad things will happen in the next weeks of your life. OceanoFPDF.com. Non-attention and reality. The miracle of attention. In reading this, you are becoming witness to one of the deepest, profound, and most beautiful secrets of infinity. May this knowledge, secret and sacred, be treated as such. May you awaken to a more serene, powerful, and magical version of yourself. Attention attracts reality. What you put attention to, you become more aware of, you learn more about. What you put more attention to, you begin to trust. What you put even more attention to begins to solidify from subtle energy to material form. It is in this way that how you use your attention directly affects what you experience as my life, my reality, my goals, my problems, who I am, and what I experience. You have been looking at the world. You have probably been searching around in the world, but rarely have you examined the tool with which you look, with which you search. You have been looking at the created world of objects and thoughts, the world of form, without much notice of that which perceives and permeates form. You resemble a lighthouse that is looking for light. Sound funny? Yes, but that's what you resemble. The lighthouse cast has been across the land and the sea, searching, looking. Its light beam falls upon various things and objects. It is looking for light, not noticing that it is the source of light itself. Sometimes it feels cold and lonely because there's not much light to be found out there. Sometimes its light is reflected by the objects and it gets excited. There it is. That's light. Not noticing that it has provided the attention, provided the light itself. It might become addicted to some of the objects, which only glow under the attention or the light beam of itself. One day it finally notices another lighthouse on another island. Another lighthouse with its own powerful, bright, shining source of light. And it stares in awe. I found it, our lighthouse says. I found the light. What it is still not noticing is that it has a source of light itself. And it falls in love with that other lighthouse, a love darkened by the fact that it does not yet notice its own light, although it's using it all the time. Such a bright brilliance and warmth as is coming from the other lighthouse our lighthouse has, seemingly, never experienced. But there's a problem. The other lighthouse's light does not always shine on our lighthouse. Sometimes it shines elsewhere. Sometimes its attention wanders to other objects or lighthouses of interest. And in these moments, when the other's light is shining somewhere else, our lighthouse becomes cold and lonely. Even more cold than before because now it really knows what being shown on by all this light feels like. The lighthouse begins looking for a solution, casting its lights on mentors, therapists, coaches, gurus in search of light. If they want to make money off the poor little lighthouse, they will never tell her, let alone show her that she is the source of that light herself. What she's been looking for all these years is what she has been looking with. How interesting is that? And then, one day, someone tells her and shows her. But she doesn't believe it quite yet because she can't see the light within herself. Why can't she see it? Because it is what she is seeing with. The only thing she can't see is who she really is, because she is seeing from the viewpoint of who she really is and apparently can't simultaneously look at and look as something. But then she goes deep within and looks at herself, and she holds up mirrors, and she reflects on herself, and she begins to realize that what she was looking for was herself. And now that she has found it, her search has ended, and something new has begun. Her search has ended, and playing has begun. She now knows with which brilliance she shines and uses this to illuminate the world. Replace the word light beam with attention beam, and you have one of the keys to spiritual enlightenment and high magic. I mean, it's quite literally and practically one of the most overlooked, yet one of the most important tools consciousness already has is its ability to focus, steer, shift, switch, and remove attention. Yes, what you focus on most does create your reality. What you focus on with one of your five senses you perceive, what you do not focus on or look at, you do not perceive. Attention determines what you perceive as real and what not. The moment you're not looking at something, it does not exist. Does this sound crazy? Don't take my word for it. Contemplate it yourself. What you focus attention on first becomes more important, noticeable, more familiar. Keep on focusing and it becomes more feelable, more solid, more meaningful, and ultimately more real. Beliefs are solidified thoughts that have been focused on so long and with such emotion and trust that they start accumulating similar thoughts and emotions and turn into a package of thought forms we call belief, and then later even knowledge or reality. Believing is therefore the result of intense concentration. Once something is solidified into reality, you no longer have to consciously focus on it to uphold it. In a sense, it then becomes a subconscious or half-conscious focus. On the other hand, things you no longer focus on start moving into the background, the backdrop of life, losing their relevance to your current experience, losing their importance and solidity, until finally they cease to exist as far as you're concerned. Attention is awareness, and as such the only tool you have that is completely and totally unlimited. That means while material objects, thoughts, and everything else there might be are limited by either time or space, attention can interpenetrate, surround, travel, remove itself from anywhere. Your attention can travel anywhere. It has no limits. You're not quite aware of this because you use your attention in a rigid and similar way every day, which is the reason why you experience a similar reality every day, a reality with not too much alterations and change, a reality that seems solid to you. Attention is also what you've wanted from others since you were a child, and you went a great effort in order to get it. Attention from others is what you become dependent on or start demanding when you're unable to generate attention yourself or give attention to yourself. Having a problem simply means having your attention fixed on something and being unable to release the fixation of attention. Energy, real measurable energy as in electricity or magnetism, and emotion go where attention goes. Attention, you can make it travel anywhere, but you can also use it to find out anything about anything and anyone. Simply by placing your attention on something, you find out things about the object of attention that you did not notice before, were not aware of before. Attention allows you to learn everything you want. The attention of most people is not yet predominantly determined or steered by themselves, but by the outside world, controlled by others, reacting to impulses, advertisement, pressure, authority, media, schools, circumstances, indoctrination, hypnotic manipulation, and pulled left and right by one's own cravings and resistances. While applying attention exercises, you regain some of your self-determination and freedom. Rather than being the ball that's being played, you become the player. Since reality creation is basically a question of where you put your attention, what you invest attention to, training your choice and your attention is one of the most essential things you can do. You're then not working on what you perceive, but on the perceiver. When you're training your attention, you're training the source, the cause of life, not the effect. You stop looking for the truth out there and start examining the tool with which you are searching, and especially the user of that tool. For the user of the tool and the tool are misguided, the resulting craftsmanship will be flawed as well. The most basic exercise on this issue is to simply focus your attention on something for any given time span. The longer you're able to do that, the more your willpower and self-determination grow. The willpower gained by this practice can be transferred to any other issue, thing, or subject. Up to now, your attention has been like a ping pong ball, thrown back and forth by the hysterical rat race we laughingly call society. On the one hand, relaxation is required to focus attention. On the other hand, focus of attention leads to relaxation. Most Eastern and Western meditation techniques are actually based on focusing attention in one way or the other. If you strip all of them from their ritualism, guruism, self-importance, and dogma, what actually remains of these spiritual techniques are simply various methods to focus attention. That's the secret behind all of it. Never mind all the beliefs, rules, and luggage these religions, cults, and teachings bring with them. Cut to the chase and study the nature of attention, and you have it all in one package. Focusing attention, no matter on what, will slow the flow of thoughts, calm the restless mind, and bring your energy back where it belongs, resting in the here and now, without a worry in the world. This is your most effortless and most natural state, and it is completely independent of the material world. And it is only by the independence from the world that you gain influence over the world, by the way. The power to change reality does not come from a sense of lack or neediness, but from happiness that is not dependent of outside circumstances or people that need to change before I change. The mirror will not smile before you smile. The second basic way to use attention is by defocusing, by intentionally not focusing on anything specific. This is putting attention on neutral, on idle running, or on open loop. We will be talking about this incredibly relaxing behavior and its various uses later on. The third very basic way to consciously use attention is by focusing on something with the intention of getting in a vibratory or energetic synchrony with it. You may not be totally aware of it yet, but energetically speaking, what you look at is looking at you. Sound spooky? It needn't. You live in a universe in which everything consists of energy, and it's all the same one energy vibrating at different frequencies, at different rates, or at different densities, depending on the way you want to look at it. This means that by solidifying thoughts, they become more dense, that turn into physical, material, everyday reality. And one of the methods by which you can solidify thought is through attention. Are you getting this? When you put attention on something with the intention of getting into energetic synchrony with it, You start vibrating at the same rate it is vibrating. Focus on something desired only for 20 seconds, and your energy starts synchronizing with its energy. Focus on something for 60 seconds, and you are vibrating at the same rate. Focus on something for 3 minutes, and you're starting to attract it into your life. This is what happens when you mix attention and intention. With attention, you are at the object, and with intention, you are in the object. You become the object. Does that mean all I have to do is stare at something, and I can have it? In a sense, yes, that's what it means. If the intention behind the focusing is not counterintentional, so to speak, then that's all you have to do. Attention will solidify subtle, etheric energy into material, physical form. This may sound highly esoteric and incredible to some, but it is easily demonstratable. This has been kept hidden from your eyes for so long that I understand it may sound unusual. You know for a fact that when you focus on one thing, all other things retreat into the background. When you focus on a thought for a while, beginning to vibrationally resonate with it, you know what happens. You start picking up on similar thoughts and feelings, other additional thoughts and feelings that vibrate similar to that thought you're focusing on. You start feeling that way. Most people can easily demonstrate this by thinking about sex. Focus on sexual thoughts for a moment and notice what emotions and other thoughts are attracted by that. When you focus a bit longer, more and more feelings and thoughts accumulate on the subject. You start feeling it in your body, whether it's something you like or not. So not only more thoughts and feelings accumulate, but you also start attracting real-life experiences that resonate or match that focus. That's why, ultimately, you will get everything you fear and everything you love. The law of correspondence doesn't care what energy you are putting out, it will simply reflect that back. You will not experience all of that because your attention drifts back and forth, and before anything manifests, all the loves and hates you put out will have neutralized each other. But the purer forms of love and happiness and the purer forms of fear and hatred will reflect back on you. For now, understand your attention as an electronic signal and what you experience as reality as the feedback from this signal you are giving off. What follows is your training program on the subject of attention. I have pointed out the importance of attention in order to give you an incentive to even do this series of exercises. But realize that doing exercises itself is a form of guiding your own attention in a self-determined manner, no matter if you're doing these exercises or any other form of practice. So therefore, if you have problems getting yourself to exercise, then that's because your self-determination, your attention is not trained, not developed. Saying, I can't do these exercises because I just don't have the discipline is like saying, I can't exercise my attention because I don't have the attention. How silly is that? You are doing these exercises exactly because you don't have the attention and you wish to live so much more of your potential than you have been living. But a few soothing words will make it easier for you. There really is no such thing as being lazy or being undisciplined. When it comes to things you love to do, things you associate something positive, happy, or easy with, you have absolutely no problem with discipline.